This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good morning, everybody. It's a very gloomy and beyond Panda Private Game Reserve. Welcome on your morning safari. Live from Napa. Morning, everybody. Look what we've come across. A beautiful herd of impalas out grazing in an open area. It's a very gloomy morning here on Panda Private Game Reserve. A little breeze blowing. And it seems like these impalas are all huddled up together. It's a little bit cooler this morning, and they're all just feeding. My name's Chad. Behind camera we got Glenn. There's So we've come out into the southern parts of Punda this morning. We saw some very fresh female leopard tracks. The female that we were looking for last night, actually. And we've just heard some Inyala's alarming. That alarm call in the mountains. So we're just sitting here with these impalas, seeing if we can maybe hear those alarm calls again. This morning in particular, it's very overcast. It's quite a cool morning. It's very good for cats. So leopard, lion, cheetah, those cats might be a little bit more active into the later parts of the morning. Just because normally it's starting to get hot already and cats might start to find a little bit of shade where they're going to start resting after a long evening out on patrol. But yeah, these impalas are the lucky survivors of the evening. I'm sure they're very happy to see the sunrise this morning. Must be quite a stressful thing being an impala, being out in the African bush with all the predators around, leopard, lion, cheetah, that want to hunt you. But they seem like they're really enjoying this. Oh, you can see some of the youngsters actually jumping quite high. Looks like most of them are just feeding though. Impalas are a very, very beautiful antelope. A lot of people will drive past them once they've seen them a couple of times, but if you actually take the time to look at these impala, they've got beautiful coats. They're always very, very pristine, very good condition. I just saw some of them were actually grooming one another. So they keep each other nice and clean, remove all those ticks from them. And there's even a blue wildebeest in and amongst these impalas. He seems a little bit lost, I think. But just like we were saying yesterday, for everyone that wasn't watching yesterday, but the safety in numbers is a very important thing out here in the bush. The more eyes, the better chances they have of surviving the evening throughout the day, the more chance they have of picking up a predator such as a leopard that we hopefully will look for this morning. Hopefully we'll be able to find it. There is quite a strong breeze this morning. Beth, the two different species of wildebeest. So we get the blue wildebeest, which is the one we're looking at. Sorry, we were looking at. It seems like it's gone behind the bush. And then we get the black wildebeest. So both are black in color. The main difference that you'll be able to notice is with the horns. So on the blue wildebeest, the horns come out almost the side of the head, and then go up. Whereas the black wildebeest, they almost come out the front and then go up. So that's the main difference. And there is a little slight change in color with the black wildebeest, but nothing too drastic. You can see a lot of these impalas have their heads down now feeding. I can just see one or two on the left-hand side having a look in the direction of where those female leopard tracks were going. I wonder if maybe they haven't heard those inyalas alarming on top of the mountain. Because like we were saying, the other animals will give away the position of predators, and these impalas will be listening out for that. There's also often a lot of baboons on the mountain range just behind us. So, I mean, they're often on top of the rocks, and with them being on top of the rocks, they've got a beautiful height advantage, being able to scan around this mountainous area where we are at the moment. I can just start to feel now that there are Daniel, thank you very much for your question. So the main difference between Impala and Springbok, so I don't know if Glenn, we can't really see the Impala male, but so Impalas, the male and female, the males have horns where females don't. Springboks, male and female, have horns. Springboks also, they're quite white in color compared to the Impalas. I know the Impala does have a white underbelly, but there's a beautiful like white underneath. Also on the back, they've got a very, from the tail that comes up in the spine, there's a very white fluffy area. And that area is used for the females to attract the males for mating, whereas these Impalas don't have any of that skin fold that the Springboks do. Also, Springboks are more in the arid areas, so areas in the Karoo, Bloemfontein, like more in the northwest of South Africa. And Impalas, I mean, you pretty much find them all over, but not in the arid areas. So habitat is a big thing when identifying Springbok and Impalas out in the bush. You can see those Impalas now have a look at their body language. See how it's all changed immediately. I can see, excuse me, I can just see off in the distance, there's one Impala lamb that's running towards this herd of Impalas. But I can just see it, Glenn, just to the right hand side of that prominent green tree in the distance. So there's that Impala lamb. Oh, look at this. I think it's going to be reunited with its mother. Let's see what happens here. Maybe it's just going to be looking for its mom within the herd. It almost looks like they're all coming together to actually greet that Impala back. You can see they're all almost surrounding it. And you can imagine last night, maybe this particular herd of Impalas got chased by that female leopard that we're going to be looking for, and potentially got lost in the chase. Maybe ran away, wasn't able to find the herd of Impalas. And now, just as the mornings come, the youngster has decided to try and venture out, see if they can reunite. And that was just beautiful. Beautiful way to start the morning, to see a young Impala coming back within the herd. Oh, brilliant. So you can see the Glen is on the male Impala. Male Impalas have beautiful big horns. This one in particular, amazing horns. And I don't know if when we are looking, if you notice that all the other impalas, they don't have horns. And so those are all the females. And this particular one that we're looking at the moment is the male. So impalas, they have what we call a harem structure. What that means is one male to many different females. And so this would be his herd. He would look after this herd. He would protect this herd from other males. And it's actually coming up, in a couple of months to what we call rutting season, which is quite an amazing time of the bush. And what this rutting season is when males will fight for dominance within a herd. And it can be quite an experience to watch impalas clash. They're quite a small antelope, but there's quite a lot of force that they will fight with. And often the males within the herd, like this male here, what he's doing is he's not feeding too much, too often. What he's doing is looking around constantly, looking for potential threats, like other male impalas, maybe even the cats, leopard, lion, cheetah, things like that. And what the younger males do is they form bachelor herds. So bachelor herds are the younger male impalas coming together, and they'll be feeding all together. What their job is basically to do is to feed, drink water every single day to grow big and strong in order to be able to fight another male for females, for competition. And often that sort of cycles the genetics through the impalas, while the ones that are feeding away from the herd grow big and strong. This one in the herd loses a little bit of condition, and then they'll be able to swap out, and potentially other males will then mate with the females and spread the genetics around. I can see now all of these impalas, they've started to slowly move off. They were all looking in that direction to the left of screen, but I've had a very good scan with my binoculars, haven't been able to see anything. If they had seen that leopard, they most likely would have alarm called, maybe gone and investigated just to be able to see what that is. If it was a leopard, most likely run away, as they don't want to be in any danger, especially with a lot of the younger impalas around at the moment. But I can just see now that there's a little break in the cloud up above these impalas. It seems like that sun wants to poke its head out, but if I look to the south of where we are, which is generally where the rain comes from here on Panda Private Game Reserve, it does look pretty gloomy, and there is a northerly wind at the moment. So I think that cloud cover is coming over here at Panda. So I think we're going to leave these impalas. We're going to continue into the area, see if we can find that leopard. I'm going to send you over to Tswalu to say good morning.
Good morning, everyone. It is a beautiful but very cold morning here in Tswalu Kalahari. Actually colder than expected. We just came through to have a look and see if those cheetahs were successful last night. It doesn't seem so, or they could have been, but not in this particular area where we left them. By the way, guys, my name is Mo. It's behind the camera we've got Craig, and so yeah, we had a quick look. Lots of hyena activity in the area. Craig just spotted, I think, what looks like a bat-eared fox lying down there. Can you see it there? Let's have a look. Just the backside of a bat-eared fox there. Already becoming a little lazy. Or he's just very cold and he's bundling up. But yeah, you can see there he's lying right by the burrow. Guys, see that red piece of sand, that little clearing? So that's where they'll typically have the burrow because it's so well used. You don't find any vegetation growing on there. So lying right at the mouth of the burrow, which probably means that they've got puppies inside at the moment, which can be small or large. You know, it doesn't necessarily matter how old the pups are. They'll still be lying just like, be lying at the mouth just like we had the other day when we had those ones that were so close to the car. But just very interesting with this temperature that we've got at the moment to see them already being inactive. It must have been a very good night as far as feeding was concerned. You know, got a lot of insects and so on so that they can go to bed early. Typically speaking, when you've got temperatures as cold as it is this morning, you'll find things like the bat-eared foxes and so on being active for a tiny bit longer, you know, just to like get a jump on them or on the day. However, it would seem like this one is nice and full already. So very, very lazy. Maybe a busy Saturday evening for that one. Nancy, you're absolutely right. You know, I'm still trying to get used to the green. I've grown used to the Kalahari being red and sandy. And after this last, I want to say, 2 months of almost continuous rain, not 100 mils at a time, but every now and again, just a little bit here and a little bit there. The Kalahari has completely changed into this green paradise, which I never actually expected, you know. It's the first time for me to see it so green, and it's just stunning. I can just imagine how happy the animals must be after this 5-year drought, having it so lush and so green and so full of water everywhere. You know, they don't really necessarily have to walk too much to get to a waterhole. There's going to be puddles of water standing everywhere and little seasonal water holes and all of those things. And then, I mean, the grazing and the browsing is just abundant everywhere at the moment. So very, very positive for going into winter this year. There's going to be plenty of food for everyone to carry them through winter and into the early summer up until when it starts raining again next year. Oh, well, end of this year, next season. It's just stunning. All the monotonous larks waking up as well at the moment. Not that they really go to bed. You'll find them vocalizing right throughout the night. But those are typically the first birds that you hear in the morning. Just beautiful. But yeah, guys, so back to the cheetahs. We wanted to come and have a look and see if they didn't maybe make a kill where we left them last night, or close to where we left them. It doesn't seem like it is the case. So we are actually going to move on and see if there's possibly some lions moving around or anything like that on the other side of the mountain. So we're going to head through to that side and hopefully, well, I mean, those cheetahs might have also moved over to that side of the mountain and is looking to hunt on the other side and so on. So we'll see what the bush has to offer. Beautiful to have seen that little bat-eared fox, but for as far as the cheetahs is concerned, I think if they didn't come right last night, they're going to be relatively hungry this morning. With the amount of hyena activity that we've seen in the vicinity, it's very possible that they made a kill and lost it as well. So difficult to really say because, you know, the tracks didn't come onto the road yet. Well, that we could see. So yeah. Awesome just seeing all the dew on the grass at the moment. This is what I was telling you about with the oryxes feeding during the evening. to obtain all of that moisture. Can't believe how fresh it is this morning. Very, very cold. Actually too cold for my liking. I'm not a cold person. I prefer the heat. And I was telling Craig now, when we were driving here, as I got dressed, my house inside was warm, so didn't particularly bargain for the cold weather. That's why I'm in shorts and so on. Luckily I grabbed my jacket. That made the world's difference now. Zach, to a certain extent, yes. So when it becomes rainy season, obviously the plants are a little bit more lush. So you'll find that you have the vegetation growing over the sandy spots, so the tracks don't really register as much. In this particular area as well, because of all the sand, when it does rain, the substrate, the sand becomes harder, so the tracks don't really register that strongly or that well. So with that being the case, yes, not only does the tracks not register as well, so it's difficult to spot the tracks and to follow them then. Also, as you can imagine, with the rainy season, the plants are growing a lot, so it covers most of the surface area of the soil, which then also makes it difficult to see the tracks. You know, when a cheetah steps on the plants like this and picks up his foot, it's a lot more difficult to see when he's just stepping on bare sand. So no, wintertime absolutely a lot easier than for tracking than summertime. But you know, it is what it is. It keeps life interesting. If it was easy all the time, either everyone would do it or it would become boring. So no, it's nice to have the rainy, and I prefer the rainy season. You know, it's always great. Lots of babies in the bush, nice and green. You know, coming from a farming background, it's always beautiful when the bush is green. Then you know everything is going good. So with that being the case, I prefer the summertime. However, I mean, if you have to think about certain times of the year, most of the people will say there's a giraffe. Well, that's not what they would say, but most of the people would say no, August, September, or late winter would be the best time of the year for safari. But you know, I feel like every time of the year is a good time. Every time, you know, every specific season has its own areas where it's special. Like this time of the year, yes, of course, the vegetation is thick and so on, but then because of the vegetation being so thick and a lot of dew on the grass, with the dew on the grass, you'll find all the cats preferring being on the road. So, you know, that makes it a little bit more easy to find them early in the morning. Also, like I said, lots of babies, which means cuteness overload. Also, unfortunately, because of that, you do get the opportunity, or you have a better opportunity to see kills happening, you know, which is quite a special thing to happen, to see. In the bush, you don't often see that. So every time you do get to witness a kill happening, whether it be lion or leopard or regardless of the predator, even if it's a snake, you can count yourself lucky, because then you know you had to come across a situation where the conditions were absolutely perfect for that predator to be successful. And yeah, just beautiful, this early morning light on that. I mean, the sun hasn't even broken through, but it's always just so nice to see the background starting to light up, and then, well, any picture with a giraffe in is always cool. There's actually quite a few of them moving into the area now that we'll show you soon, but on the right-hand side of us. Suzanne, you're absolutely right. It is a magnificent scene. There you can see another giraffe, guys. And have a look at how he's reaching into the tree there. So that specifically is why these guys have the long necks. It's not necessarily to reach up. Of course, the long necks helps them to reach high and to reach areas where something like the kudu wouldn't necessarily be able to reach us because of its height. But the main purpose for that long neck is for it to stand next to an acacia tree and lean into the center of the tree and then feed on that. As you can imagine, with the trees having to protect themselves, most of the good stuff are growing on the inside of the acacia, and having those thorns, a lot of the herbivores can't reach that specific area because of, them just not being able to. The thorns will prohibit them from doing that. However, with a giraffe, they can actually stand on the side of the tree and then just bend down with their neck and reach all the way to the center, and then use that long tongue, 45 centimeter tongue, to wrap it around the branches and strip off all of the leaves to be able to get to the good stuff. There we go. They are just beautiful. I love their faces. It always looks like they've got, even though it's a boy now, always looks like they've got mascara on their eyelashes. And with both the elephants and the giraffe, they will have those long eyelashes, quite thick as well. The thickness is just because it's a big animal, but the long eyelashes is specifically because of what they're feeding on. Now, just like we said just now, even though the giraffe does feed quite often like this, with his head pointing down and feeding on the leaflets of the acacia below his eye line, they do frequently go and feed on trees that they have to break off branches or pull off leaves above their eye line. So with that being the case, and with elephants also, breaking off branches and all of those things above their head, with that being the case, both of them have those longer eyelashes, so that if there is a leaf or a piece of bark or any type of debris that falls down towards their eyes from the tree, when they break off these branches or when they're shaking the tree, or, well, regardless of the situation, just to guide it away from falling into their eye. I mean, you can imagine how sore that must be if there's a piece of branch falling into the eye of, let's go a little forward, falling into the eye of a giraffe or an elephant or something like that. And that's all just to make sure that they can feed as comfortable as possible. And this guy just realized we are here. Hello, boy. And now, guys, you can get a relative idea. We spoke about it yesterday, about the height of a giraffe. You can get a relative idea of how tall they are. This is still a young male, so he's not nearly fully grown yet. He's going to probably put on another, I want to say, at least at least half a meter, if not more. But having them so close, looking down on you, then you get a proper idea of how tall they can be, or how tall they are. Very beautiful also is, the lines between the dark spots. It's not often that out here you see that. Typically speaking, you'll find that difference between the dark and the lighter colorations on the giraffe out here is not as particular or as specific, but this one has got beautiful. He must have taken a shower recently. Just perfect. And you can see also there on the saddle of his back, he's starting to get a little darker in color. And that's not because of anything else other than him, getting to that point where they are going to most likely go into their prime. But I would give him at least another 5 years before that is the case, to go into his full prime. But to come back to the darker coloration, as soon as they go into their prime, obviously you can imagine then they're mating more because they're winning more fights. So with that being the case, the levels of testosterone in their body heightens. And that turns them darker in color, the male giraffe. Not because of anything else other than the fact that they need to look more attractive to the ladies and more intimidating to the males. So the darker coloration will absolutely help with that. But for the time being, he's still going to be that almost a tawny color. Now you can see also what I was telling you about their sense of sight being their most valued sense, and how it can sometimes get them into trouble. Have to see what's going on. There's another vehicle that just came from the front, and immediately he stopped and had a look. Don't know if you noticed how he pulled his ears back now. Just like a horse. I don't know if for those of you who know the behavior of horses quite a bit, you know that when you look at a horse and he pulls his ears back, you either need to get away from the hooves, or he's not too happy about what the current situation is. So with that being the case, with a giraffe, that's exactly the same thing that happens. You'll find that they're not too vocal. They don't have any vocal cords, but they use their ears quite a bit for, communicating. But yeah, guys, I think we're going to move on. For the meantime, we're going to send you somewhere else.
For the month of January 2021, we are offering a chance to win a unique Wild Earth expedition to the magnificent Tswalu Kalahari. From the ancient Kortai's Koranenberg Mountains to the southern Kalahari's red sand dunes, Tswalu offers what travelers crave most: space and time. The winner will explore this landscape in a vehicle, on foot, or on horseback, with a chance to go behind the scenes with Wild Earth and of course meet the meerkats. The prize includes a 3-night stay for you and a friend at the luxury Motse Lodge, including flights from either Johannesburg or Cape Town. Open to all Wild Earth explorers who have signed up before the end of January 2021. Terms and conditions apply.
My name is Ross and I'm a field guide at and Beyond Pinde Private Game Reserve. I love getting questions from guests on Wild Earth because I love sharing and learning information about nature with new people, and it also makes me feel like you're all joining me in real life. If you want to ask a question on Wild Earth, then you need to register on our website. Once registered, go to our live safari page and submit your question below our live feed.
The new year has arrived, and with it comes all kinds of other new beginnings. From hyena cubs to meerkat pups, the bush is full of new life. If you want to find out more, then sign up to be an explorer and join our New Beginnings Fireside Chat. Tristan and Steve will be looking at what's new here in the wilderness as we enter 2021. Join them on the 17th of January, straight after the Sunset Safari.
Welcome back to And Beyond Pinda, everybody. Apologies, we are having some technical difficulties at Djuma. We hope they get up and running soon. So we left the area of where we had those leopard tracks. They went into quite a dense drainage line, so it wasn't worth following up around there. But we have come to the western parts of Pinda, where we were yesterday, just onto a hillside. And I've had a scan with my binoculars, and there's a waterhole quite a distance away from us, and we seem to have spotted what looks like a lioness. To me, it is a very, very far distance away from where we are at the moment. So what we're going to do is we're going to slowly drive down this road, head towards where that cat is. It looks like a lioness to me, but it could potentially be a cheetah. So we're going to go see what it is. Quite an exciting morning. Let's go see what this cat is. So there is a lioness in this area, and she does have two quite young cubs. They were seen a couple of weeks ago in quite a dense area, not too far from where she is at the moment. But they're too young to come out of the den site that we call where the lioness would give birth. So she would potentially now, on this cool morning, like we were saying a little bit earlier, be maybe looking for a potential hunting opportunity for herself in order to get energy and then to go and feed those younger cubs where she has them in the den site. There's a Impala just on the right hand side here. I also can see some rhinos off quite far in the distance. We might get a little bit of a closer view in the next while once we head down to the water. But it's quite an amazing morning now. The sun is starting to peek out of the clouds, so hopefully this cloudy, gloomy day will turn into a beautiful sunny day. Hopefully not too hot though. We are getting a little bit closer to where that lioness was. But we're just taking it nice and slow as we are driving towards where that cat was. We just don't want to miss anything else that potentially is around. Where we saw that water, it's one of the only water holes within this area. So there might be some other animals around. I've had quite a good scan with the binoculars, just seen some rhinos and another set of rhinos far in the distance. Hopefully we can maybe get a little closer view a little bit later. But for now there's some monkeys in the road up ahead of us. There's some vervet monkeys on the ground. Oh, they're actually playing with one another. It looks like two younger ones. See, they're just slowly moving off. Oh, it looks like that one has a very young baby. Oh, how amazing is that? Almost looks like they're giving each other morning love. Oh, that one's lying down now. And it's interesting, if these monkeys climb up into the tree and look over into the distance, Margaret, I'm glad you love monkeys. They are amazing animals. The agility of them out in the trees when they're feeding and all of that. And their youngsters are very, very cute. So I'm glad you do love monkeys. I'm glad, Margaret, we could find some monkeys for you. I'm just having a scan now again with the binoculars. And I don't see where that lioness was. But I'm sure we'll drive a little bit closer and then see. With it being a very cool morning, that lioness could have potentially gotten up and started to move. If she has started to move, what we'll do is then just drive a couple of roads around the waterhole. Maybe see if we can find where she's gone. But how amazing to see this mom and baby monkey in the road. See, it almost looks like also they're grooming one another. I think that's exactly what's going on. I mean, we saw those impalas grooming one another, just keeping each other in immaculate condition. With it being summer, there's a lot of ticks around, especially in this open area where we are now. Carla, I agree with that. There's a lot of monkey business going on here. Monkeys are always up to mischief. They're always getting themselves in trouble, whether it be with humans or even with the troop that they're with. Always playing around. They are also quite vocal animals, so you often hear them in the trees. I mean, these monkeys, they seem like they're really enjoying grooming one another, cleaning one another. And I'm sure that's a mother with its child. Or baby, sorry. But I think let's slowly drive towards them. I don't see that cat that we saw from the hillside, so I've got a feeling that she might have moved off. We're going to continue slowly driving towards where that cat was. I can see off in the distance on our left-hand side, there's the two rhinos that are making their way, it looks like it, towards where that water is. So that'd be quite nice to see some rhinos drinking also. Excuse me. Kim, thank you for the question. Lionesses will potentially live to about 15 years old. So, I mean, that's quite an age for a cat. They can have, I would say, most likely 4 or 5 litters in their life. The thing is, lions will sexually mature at around 3 years old when they're ready to have their first litter. And from there on, they can have cubs every 2 or 2.5 years. So I would say they'll have cubs up until around the age of 13, 14. And often having 4 or 5 cubs at a time. So if you think about that, that's maybe 20 lions that she can potentially give birth to, which is quite a lot. And this particular lioness, she's quite a young lioness, if it is the lioness that I'm thinking of. And this would be her first litter. So it's quite an exciting time. I'm just going to drive a little bit towards the water, see if we can't see her. Otherwise we'll come back and then loop around. But we're just keeping a lookout for any movement that we can see, maybe the flick of a tail. Sorry? Is it? Oh, there. How amazing, guys. Sure. Glenn's gonna try get this cheetah onto the screen. How incredible is that? We thought it was a lioness, but from a distance it's quite difficult to see. But it does look like we've found a cheetah. Incredible scenes down here at and beyond Phinda. We did say this morning we're coming looking for cats, and it's definitely paid off. You can see how this cheetah is lying quite flat in the grass with her head up, just keeping a lookout around. So it does look like a female cheetah. Often you'll find female cheetahs will be alone. They often will either be alone or with cubs, whereas the male cheetahs, you'll often find them in a coalition. So what a coalition is it's a brotherly bond from birth. And when they eventually do leave their mom at around 2 years old, maybe 18 months, what they'll do is they'll form a coalition and leave and become dominant within an area. So you can see that beautiful white little tip to the tail of the cheetah. That's what we were looking out for as we were driving around here. Because it's amazing the camouflage of these animals. I mean, lions, leopards, cheetah, pretty much very similar to the grass color around where we are. So it's the slightest little movement of the tail, like we can see now, or the head moving, maybe even the ears flicking in the long grass. You can see she's lying very, very flat there. And she is on a bit of a raised area here close to the water. And I think if it does get a little bit hotter later on, it's a good area for her to hunt. It is quite open, but there are quite a lot of trees around here that she can ambush a little bit closer to her prey and then use that impressive speed to be able to catch her prey, such as impala, maybe inyalas, things like that around. And the female cheetah, it's amazing power that they don't look like they have too much power because they're very built for speed, very slender, long legs. Their claws are always out, almost like an athlete running on the track. You can imagine with that speed that these cheetahs go at, they're going to need all the traction that they can get to make those sharp corners at a top speed. And it's quite amazing to know cheetahs, they can run about 120 kilometers an hour. Anna Marie, I'm so happy that cheetah is your favorite. I think personally also cheetah is my favorite. So I'm glad you're watching. Thank you for watching. And I'm glad we could find you a cheetah on this beautiful overcast morning here at and beyond Phinda. And with us coming into this western part of the reserve, this is one of the animals that we were looking out for. Glenn, I don't know if you can see, but there's the two rhinos that I was talking about also that are coming straight towards us, towards the water, which is quite exciting also. Maybe they're coming for their morning drink, I think. It's amazing to have rhinos and cheetahs so close together. But the rhinos won't be in any threat to the cheetah. You can see those rhinos, they've just stopped now. They might have either seen us or picked up our scent, just making sure that it's safe around here to be able to come down to drink. If they do come down towards the water for a drink, I'll just keep a little bit quiet and let's just watch them as they have their morning drink. But I mean, amazing scenes here at Pinda. Cheetah, rhinos, two of my favorite animals. I'm sure for a lot of the viewers also enjoy seeing a lot of rhinos. And then always nice to see the cats out in the open. You can see that mom just moving her ears around a little bit. She might even hear us talking. Got amazing sense of hearing as well as smell. So she's just making sure it's safe there. They start to come. They might be hearing another vehicle maybe off in the distance. That's why they're just a little bit wary of what's happening. It actually does look like the two that we saw on the Sunset Game Drive yesterday. Oh. Janet, I do see that her ears are very tattered. The one in particular, so her left ear, the one, if you're looking at her on the right, that is, so we here on Ambient Pinda, we do dehorn our rhinos. We were talking about it a little bit yesterday. But also, we call that notching. And what notching is, just like you have an ID number, myself, an ID number, fingerprints, that's an identification for this particular rhino. So the habitat guys, the guys that manage the animals, the vegetation here on and beyond Pinda, they have a specialized ID kit for these rhinos. And it's just so that we can monitor these rhino in this area. There are some monitors on Pinda that drive around and they look for rhinos, black and white rhinos, and what they do is they get a close-up view of them, and then each rhino has a number. Each nick in the ear that they have would be a specific number, and so every single rhino on Pinda they would have a number. That calf in particular, though, wouldn't have a number just yet. Once we do dehorn them, that's when we'll then give them a number. So that's why her ears are a little bit tatty. The one on the right, though, does look extremely tatty. Just looking through my binoculars now. You never know. I mean, it looks like there's a little piece hanging off, actually. You never know. I mean, rhinos, white rhinos, they do spend a lot of time out in the open areas. But sometimes when it's quite windy, maybe if it's raining, they might go into quite a thick drainage line where it might be a little bit warmer, like in the valley, and they might move through quite a dense area. And with that, maybe a branch might have gone to an ear and potentially broken off that little piece of ear. But the rhinos, the mother in particular, is looking in the direction of where that cheetah is. It'll be quite interesting to see what happens if the rhino does get closer to that cheetah. I've got a feeling that if they do, that cheetah might just move off. Because the rhinos are not going to be a threat to the cheetah's not going to be a threat to the rhino. But that younger rhino at the back might get quite inquisitive, so I think we'll stick around here for a little while. Excuse me, and see what happens around. Joshua, thank you for your comment. Rhinos they love to investigate. They're very interested in everything. I mean, if you get a close-up view of this rhino, they've got extremely big nostrils, so they can take in a lot of smell around. So extremely good sense of smell, extremely good hearing. And look there, you see how mom doesn't look like she's feeding. What she's doing is she might have picked up that scent of the female cheetah around. I just heard now that young calf is actually communicating with the mother. It's a very, very high-pitched... Oh! I wonder what spooked them. can see that young calf, and even the mother now, a little bit weary. Some Egyptian geese flying over. I can see that Cheetah was looking at the rhinos also. And this little one might feel a little bit vulnerable around a water hole like this. Perfect. You can see that Cheetah, she's just turned her head. She was looking at the rhinos, but she's now looking away. And I've got a feeling that female rhino has picked up the scent of this cheetah. And I think what she'll do is maybe just go investigate, just see what's happening. Maybe even with the youngster, because she might not know that it's a cheetah. She could not know that it's not a threat to her or her calf, but she just wants to know what it is. You might find with her and the calf, maybe they won't even go a little bit closer. They might just start moving off away from the potential threat around. It's amazing how flat that cheetah is lying. Extremely flat. And if I have a look with the binoculars, it doesn't look like she's very full. Sorry. Yeah, it doesn't look like she is full. It's her rump that we can see there, and it looks like quite a big indent towards her stomach region, which means that this cheetah most likely hasn't eaten for the last 2 or 3 days, and this is a perfect morning for this cheetah to be able to hunt. I mean, you can imagine some impalas coming down for a mid-morning drink. With this cheetah lying dead flat like she is, it's going to be very difficult for them to be able to spot this cheetah in the grass over here. And it's almost a waiting game. I mean, she is on a little ridge. Cheetahs have extremely good eyesight. So, I mean, there she goes. She's picked up her head just a little bit. How beautiful is that pose that she's giving us. The wind has started to pick up. I'm not too sure if you can hear, but she might have even picked up a scent of maybe these rhinos. The wind is blowing directly from the rhinos to the cheetah, so she might have picked up the scent. She might have even seen some movement on the hillside. It's a beautiful view from where she is on the mountain range here in and beyond Phinda. And with saying that they've got extremely good eyesight, cheetahs, you often see them out in open areas such as the one we're in, on a little bit of a raised area, often a termite mound or a little hillside. And what that gives them is a little vantage point. And a vantage point is a perfect area for them to scan the surroundings, to look for any threats. And threats for cheetah like this may be leopard. In this area, most likely lions. Lions are extremely powerful and much bigger compared to a cheetah. And there's a lot of competition around in the bush. It's not necessarily for territories, but it's most likely for food competition. So, I mean, if a lion does come across a cheetah, there might be quite a nasty fight. Often the cheetah, though, will try and get out of the area of where those lions are. They don't want anything to do with lions. And often, I mean, cheetahs, they do have the speed advantage to their side, which is good. But lions, their power is just immaculate. It's amazing, the power. If you've seen a lion out in the bush, in the nature, the muscles on their shoulders, the size of their paws, it's just quite incredible to this small, slender female cheetah that we're looking at the moment. It's beautiful that she's lifted her head for us now, at least. I can hear the rhino communicating again, the younger rhino. I wonder if it's a little bit nervous maybe of this wind. I believe you can hear the wind, and it's blowing quite hard at the moment. maybe bringing in that storm from the southern parts of Phinda. We were expected to get a lot of rain yesterday evening, but it rained maybe for 5 or 10 minutes, and then it seemed like the storm blew away. And the clouds, I'm just looking around now, seems like the clouds are starting to almost disperse. The storm seems to have headed over us at the moment, which is good and bad. We do need rain at the moment. The reserve is pretty dry. There's not too much water around. I mean, this little water hole where those rhinos were around, where we spotted that cheetah, it's one of the only water holes in this area. Glenn's going to get the rhinos again. You see she's just drinking from a little water hole up ahead of us. You can see that youngster still unsure of what to do. Mom's having an early morning drink. Just like I'm sure everybody is maybe at home having their early morning coffee. See how that youngster's still unsure of what to do. There's also some red-billed oxpeckers on that female rhino. Just catching a free ride, taking off all those ticks around. You can see how now Mom's looking around. You can imagine she might have been resting, maybe in one of these valleys around here. With the wind blowing, she wanted to take cover, maybe try to keep a little bit warmer in the evening, the cool evening that we had last night. And she's made a mission from where she was resting yesterday up to this waterhole. I can see that you're now on the red-billed oxpecker there sitting on the rhino, just in between the ears there. And you can imagine there, just around the ears, it's quite soft skin. So it's a very, very good spot for ticks to go, to be able to latch themselves onto this female rhino. And that's where that oxpecker is getting its morning breakfast, right around the ears of that rhino. It's actually quite amazing if you do see the oxpeckers close up. They're Kelly, thank you for your question. This calf would still be nursing. It would still also be eating grass though. So I mean, rhinos, they can nurse for just over a year. And looking at this rhino, it seems like it's actually the one that we saw yesterday. So it is about a year old. So this rhino would be nursing as well as eating grass though. They might wean at around a year and a half, maybe just over, maybe 2 years. So we would be extremely lucky to be able to see this calf suckling from the mom. But you might find that mom might move off into the distance. Oh, she's coming back for another drink, I think. If she does come down to drink, I'm just going to let everybody take it in. Watch as they drink. Maybe the calf will even have a drink from this little puddle that's just in front of us at the moment. And I mean, these rhinos are probably about 20 meters, maybe 25 meters away from us at the moment. We're just on the other side of the water hole. Let's see if she comes down to drink. Oh, that red-billed oxpecker on the baby's gone straight to the eye, was at the nostril also. Also very extremely soft skin around. Oh, there it's on the mom. Let's see, that mom got a little bit annoyed, just shaking her head, telling that oxpecker, you mustn't be there. So I think, I mean, it's a beautiful sight we've got here with these rhinos and this cheetah. I think we're going to spend a little bit of time here with it being very, very cool there's potential that this cheetah may get up, maybe start to move around. So we're going to hang around here and see what happens.
Have you heard anything now recently? Neither. I heard him asking for a link, but then from there nothing. Going north. Yeah, these are all baboon tracks. I think their tracks went more towards the west there. It's fine though. Yeah, I think let's go and have a look at what this side has to offer. Well, from what we could have been live now.
Welcome back, everybody. So we're still here with this cheetah. As you left us, she did lift her head again, look around. I've got a feeling, so what we'll do is just sit here with her, and there's a couple of signs that we'll look out for, that this cheetah might potentially get up. What she would do is that she would start grooming herself, also yawning is an indication that she could potentially get up. See, there's a nice little flick of the tail. And she could yawn, groom herself, just to get that oxygen and the blood flow through the body before she does start to go and hunt. And I mean, with this being a cheetah, cheetahs are diurnal, which means that they're active throughout the day, the daytime. So this is a perfect time for her to be able to hunt. Whereas leopards are mostly nocturnal. Not saying that they're only active at night, but they do mostly be active at night in the cooler parts of the day, as well as lions. Whereas cheetah is the only big cat that is active, well, diurnal. I know lions, they are active during the daytime, but that's just maybe potentially to go on a hunt if there's a very good opportunity around. No lions or cheetahs or leopards will read the books, what the books say. It's a experience out here that we've seen with those bigger cats. Glenn, the rhino has started to drink. And the rhino is just in front of us drinking. Let's just take this in. It seems like the youngster might come down for a drink finally. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but it's a very high-pitched call that youngster's doing. communicating with the mom. Might be a little bit unsettled because of this wind here at Anbion Pinda. Yeah, I don't think you guys will be able to hear it just because of the wind that we've got here. But it's a very high-pitched noise, a noise that you wouldn't expect to come from a white rhino calf. And if you are lucky enough, one of those lucky ones to have been able to hear it, you'll know the noise that I'm talking about. How amazing to have these rhinos right in front of us, drinking at this little waterhole. Maybe the youngster's communicating to mom that she's a little bit uneasy. Oh, brilliant. I believe you could hear a couple of little squeaks. That's that noise that I've been talking about. You can see the youngster almost wants to lead mom away from the waterhole. It looked like I wanted to give herself a little scratch on that dead tree stump over there. But it seems like mom might have got the message from that youngster, and it seems like she is slowly starting to move off from the water. They're most likely going to go continue their morning feeding. It's a beautiful grassy area around here, very nutrient-rich grass that these two white rhinos will be feeding on. I can see the cheetah. She's also lifted up her head. Exciting stuff. We're going to stay here with this female cheetah. We're going to send you over to Djuma with Steve, see what he's planning for the morning.
Good morning to Djuma Private Game Reserve in the Sabi Sands, everybody. Welcome on board our vehicle. We had a few technical issues this morning due to the lightning and torrential downpour last night, but finally we are live and we're with you. My name is Steve, joined by Paul on camera, and as always, very excited to have you with us. Now, we've already found a leopard this morning. He was on the dam wall. Baboons called us in. Young male leopard. I'm not sure who exactly he was, but we're following another leopard over here. I'm not sure. Can you see this? And Paul, must I come closer? Good. Here's a front foot of a leopard. Very, very wide. You see how wide it is? It's as wide as it is long. And that is the front foot. And then here's the back foot, which is much narrower than it's long. And what's very interesting to see about this is the distance between the front and the back foot. He is walking quickly. So this is a territorial sort of walk that a leopard will do when he's walking on the road in sort of fast, sort of territorial gait. Now, we found a young male leopard this morning on the dam wall. I don't know who it was. The dam cam was looking in the opposite direction, so we weren't able to actually film it. But a baboon, one big male baboon, came down to the water and actually chased him. He ran away. One baboon. And Paul's going, what's going on? Why is this leopard scared of a baboon? I said, well, this baboon, all his friends are watching, and he's showing them that he is the main sort of guy in the troop. So very cool to see. But in and around camp, there's been a couple of leopard tracks. There was a male leopard track that came past our camp, and then there's one that's gone back. It's very likely it could be two completely different leopards. There were also female leopard tracks around the dam, and we found that male, he was smelling the dam wall. But because of the rain, can't drive on the dam wall. It's the same as off-roading. Have a look at the ground. This is the road, everybody. This is the road. Have a look at the road. So there's going to be no off-road driving today. If this is what the road is doing, no off-road driving. It's ecological reason, ethical guiding. So we're going to stay on the road today, and we're going to be sticking to sort of the high elevated sandy gravel patches. But don't worry, we're still going to have ourselves an absolute ball. Ready? Jump on board, carry on. We're just going to follow these leopard tracks to see where he's gone to. But another leopard came back that way. It might be the same male. I don't know. Anna Marie, very clear tracks, I agree. Very, very nice. You could actually see them just snaking across in front of me just on the right here. There we go, on the right, there we go. So quite easy to follow when the sand is soft like this. But as soon as the sun comes out, the ground here is going to get quite hard, and tomorrow tracking is going to be very difficult. So we must enjoy it today while we can. And these tracks are heading straight towards Gowrie Gate, straight towards our sort of western sort of edge. So let's see where this one goes. And we'll do a loop around and see if we can find out if it is the same leopard altogether. It might be the same young male. Very hard to say. Very hard to say. Walking, walking, walking. So after rainfall, territorial cats, territorial animals, rhinos, leopards, lions will frequent their territorial boundaries once more. And they use roads. The rain washes away the scent that they've put down, and so they have to reapply that magic smell once again, be it through dung or urine, depends on which species it is. Leopards and lions are primarily urine scent markers. So they have to reapply their coat so as to ward off any potential takers for the throne. Obviously, washing away the scent means that the territory is declared unoccupied until it is reclaimed. So we've had many activities on this road specifically with Mawati, Hukumuri, Tingana I've never had coming this far west, but he could surprise us. But Tristan's been telling me there's been lots of young male leopards in and around the area. And we had a very brief view of that male. I don't know if we actually managed to get anything in final control with regards to what that leopard looked like, but I managed to capture him with my binoculars, and I've never seen him before. Well, I'm not alone on Djuma this morning. Tristan is out and about, and well, of course, he'd like to say good morning.
No, not at all, Steve. I am also out and about, although unlike Steve, who's been very successful this morning, I've been more chauffeur and tech support to Marcel, who I'm going to tell you all about shortly. But before we get into that, my name is Tristan, as Steve probably mentioned, and on camera I have Marcel this morning, and it's thanks to Marcel that we are out and about. Marcel has been a very, very busy boy this morning, as he has pretty much single-handedly sorted out a whole host of issues. And well, like I say, I've just been playing chauffeur and getting Marcel to where he needs to be. Anyway, we are at Tambuti Dam. I thought we'd just come have a quick poke our nose in here. All of the dam walls are closed at the moment, so we can't kind of go onto the dam wall, but we can obviously and just kind of view it from the side. They are full now. 4 months ago, this dam was completely dry. There was no water in it at all. It doesn't look like it's very deep, but it actually is quite deep right towards this dam wall side. So it's quite amazing actually to see the dam as full as it is. There was also a dwarf bittern that just flew across. Unfortunately, it's landed in long grass, which on the other side of the dam, so we won't be able to see that at all. Nice to see, though, that we've got so much water. Actually, Marcel, there's a bird of prey on the dead tree there. You see it? In the back of the dam. Yeah. What have we got? Looks like a bedraggled Wahlberg's eagle that's sitting on top there. It looks like that long rectangular tail and quite an upright sort of stance. It's quite typical for Wahlbergs. There's also a little bit of a crest. But after all this rain, all the birds this morning, I've seen multiple francolins that look like they've been dragged and drowned underwater. Their feathers all matted and stuck together. They don't look very sharp at all. So I'm pretty sure they're going to hope that it stays dry today and that they can all kind of clean up and get themselves looking as pristine as they normally do. And eagles will be no different. Their wings will be very, very wet, and so they'll have to wait for it to dry and be able to kind of then fly around and do what they do. Okay, well, we're going to carry on. We're going to go bumbling about, see what there is and see what the rain has brought. In the meantime, let's send you to Tswalu Kalahari.
Alrighty, guys, have a look at this quickly. The color is a little... there you went into the grass now, but that was an orange river franklin. We just quickly wanted to show it to you. It's quite a rare bird to find. To give you an idea, we've got guests coming here to Tswalu just to see that. So, as you can imagine, not an often sighting, and quite special to see. But he ducked into the grass now. So, just an update for you guys also. We found the tracks for the two male cheetahs. It seemed like they made a kill during the late afternoon, or maybe even during the evening or early hours of the morning. However, it's, from what the tracks showed us, it seemed like the hyenas actually stole the kill from them. We saw quite a bit of activity around the, kill site, and how the kill got dragged away. But it wasn't the cheetahs that did that, and they continued north. So we left their tracks, and we actually came to see if we can't find some lions. But that was quite a special thing. I know you guys had a quick sighting of it, but it's a very special bird to see around here. Not often that we get to see that. There's some there he's in the road again. There we go. There he's in the road. There we go. There. There was some sandgrass also sitting on the road there. That was what Craig was focusing on just before he jumped back onto the road. Yeah. So there's the orange river franklin, quite beautifully colored, guys. I know it's difficult to see now because he's sitting in the shade, but stunning colors. Very much the same, well, close to the same colorations as a Koki franklin that you find all the way in the Lowveld. But a very, very rare bird to find. Just special to be able to see this. This is, to give you an idea, this is only my 4th sighting of a... So yeah, Indigo Girl, absolutely. It is, like I said, it's a special bird to see around here. It's not an often sighting. Like I was saying just now, it's only the 4th sighting that I've got of this bird whilst being at Tswalu. So that should give you an idea as to how difficult or how rare they are. And now even more so because of the grass being so thick and so... And there's a... There was an ant-eating chat almost sitting on the bonnet of the car. But yeah, beautiful to see this guy and have him so relaxed. That's even more special. Doing a little bit of preening there, cleaning his feathers. As you can imagine, with all the moisture on the grass at the moment, those feathers are getting nice and wet, so they need to constantly clean that and use that little preening gland to oil up the feathers again so that they are relatively waterproof. By the looks of it, he might vocalize soon, but that's completely up to him. Sitting pretty now. So yeah, guys, just to come back to what I was saying, we are looking for maybe the Southern Pride this morning, seeing if we can maybe see how those cubs are doing. We haven't seen them in a while. They've been hanging around on the other side of the mountain, so can't really go there to put them on screen because we don't have signal at the moment. On that side. So hopefully they came across to the western side of the mountain and we'll be able to locate them and spend some time with them. That's always nice to have the cubs around. Yeah, lots of little birds calling at the moment. There's a northern black coron calling. You can hear quite a bit of eastern clapperlarks. So just stunning morning. So beautiful that the sun is out because we were cold this morning. This guy's just chilling. Yeah, guys, I think we're going to move on. See if we can find those lions, okay?
How insane is that animal?
This is out of this world. Fantastic. Good, Mama.
Wow, what a way to start off.
Just such an incredible privilege to be out here. It just keeps on delivering.
There you go, there you go. Heart is pumping right now.
3, 2, 1. You are live, you are live.
Look at this, everybody. We've got a live kill.
The croc's holding the tail. It's holding tight. Lucky wildebeest.
There's nowhere to go. This is a disaster in the making.
Something that I have never seen before in my entire life that you are now watching live.
My heart is in my mouth, everybody.
Look at this. It's gonna make it. It's going, it's going.
This is just too magical. Hi, little guys. That's great, isn't it? Look at that. Scuba Steve has got a friend.
You've got a friend in me.
It couldn't be a better morning. This is just too special.
Oh my goodness, we've got a turtle.
How epic is the fact that we're coming to you live from the Chobe River? It's the most incredible feeling to be here. This is live and we're in Rwanda. This is a very, very different adventure, charged with emotion.
I did not think I would ever face my fears like this.
Welcome back to and Beyond Pinder, everybody. We've just repositioned the vehicle for this female cheetah. And just before you joined us, she was showing those signs of potentially getting active. She was grooming herself. She had quite a big stretch. She yawned a little bit. But now you can see she's got her eyes closed and she's just leading us on, I think. But it's definitely worthwhile spending a little bit of time here with this female cheetah. It's a very cool morning. The wind is still blowing. I'm sure you can hear the wind blowing here on and Beyond Pinder. And this cheetah, so it's quite a young female cheetah. You can see the collar around her neck. And this is a cheetah that we closely monitor. It's a cheetah that we've introduced into Pinder a couple of months ago. And she's a cheetah from a rehabilitation center. And we've seen that if she can potentially survive out here in the wild, hunting for herself and everything. And so with that collar, what it allows us to do is it allows our habitat manager or the people that look after the animals on Pinder to be able to monitor her very closely. So what that collar does is it allows for the telemetry to be able to pick up a signal and be able to track her movements and see which area she's in and follow her and see if she's making kills. And I can tell you that this female cheetah at the moment is doing extremely well. We've seen her on a couple of carcasses, so she's killed a couple of animals for herself, which is really, really, really exciting and good to see. The other day we saw her feeding off a female Inyala. We've seen her feeding off a couple Impala 3 or 4 days ago. I believe you were with Deerwald, not too far from where we are at the moment, and she had just killed a Impala lamb. So she's doing extremely well for herself at the moment, which is great news for us. And with that collar we were talking about a little bit earlier, it's just a temporary thing. So we'll just monitor closely for, I would say probably close on a year or so. And from there, what we'll do is we'll then bring in the vet, we'll dart her, we'll take off that collar, and then she will no longer have a collar. but we just want to be able to monitor her in these early phases of her life here on and beyond Phinda. You can see that the cheetah is looking around a little bit. There is just another vehicle that's approaching the sighting. You might hear the vehicle in the background, so that's why she's just looked a little bit behind us at the moment. But she is very relaxed, as you can see. It's amazing to be able to sit and watch these animals. Cheetah, lion, leopard, rhinos, things like that. It's amazing to be able to spend so much time with them in their natural behavior, around them, watching them, what they do in their day-to-day lives. I mean, following them on the move, on the hunt. We do have to be quite careful when off-roading while cheetahs are hunting, or any of the cats for that matter are hunting, because we don't want to impact the cheetah hunting. We want her to have the best possible opportunity to be able to hunt, as well as the best opportunity for the prey, such as impalas or inyalas, to be able to spot her. And what we often do, we're very ethical around these animals. If we do see them hunting, and if they go into stalk mode, which they crouch down a little bit, their ears lock forward, they stare directly at the animal. What we'll do is, if we're following her, we'll just turn off the vehicle straight and we'll watch from a distance to see what happens. And it's always quite an exciting thing to be able to see cheetahs on the move, also on the hunt. It's a thing that we're very fortunate here on and beyond Phinda to be able to see. Adrian, thank you for your question. So the wind can be an advantage as well as a disadvantage for these cheetah. You can imagine, I mean, if the cheetah is downwind from the impala, so if the wind's blowing from the cheetah to the impalas, those impalas won't necessarily be able to see this cheetah. They might be able to pick up a scent of them. And what they often do is they get quite startled. They'll stand in the area, they'll look around. They're not too sure what it is, but they know that there's a potential threat in the area. And so that's the disadvantage. But the advantage is cheetahs are extremely good at hunting. And what they often do is that they use this wind to their advantage. What they'll do is they'll often try and spot something, and they'll move around that animal, such as the impala. They'll try and get downwind from the impalas. So the impala, and then, oh, nice big stretch. Maybe she's going to roll over. Just giving us up. Oh, there we go. So what she'll do is she'll try and get downwind from the impalas, so that the impalas have no idea that there's a scent coming in. And they won't be able to detect her scent. And what that gives her is a great opportunity to be able to get very, very close to that. Sorry, there is another vehicle coming into the sighting. So what that will give them is a good opportunity to be able to stalk up nice and close to the impalas without making too much noise, because the wind's going to be able to take the sound from any breaking twigs or moving through the bush or anything like that away. And she'll be able to get nice and close, and then potentially use that high speed to be able to get to the impala and hopefully catch her breakfast. But I mean, with a big stretch like that, you can see how she's now rolled over. She's now scanning the other hillside, seeing if she can't see anything else. With that nice big stretch, we'll keep a lookout, maybe some yawning, some grooming. We'll just stick around here a little bit longer and see what she does. They're just magnificent animals to be able to see and to spend some time with. It's quite nice now. You can actually see that profile of the cheetah, how very slender she is. very, very slender, long legs, small head, built for speed. Oh, look, she's giving herself a nice little scratch. Maybe there's something that might be biting her, maybe around the neck, maybe ants or something like that. But I mean, it's amazing to see now that she does have her head up. And with her head up, oh, there we go. Some grooming, just like we were talking about. Some grooming. We'll keep a lookout for any yawning. Maybe that will mean the second time lucky that she might get up and maybe start to get on the move. See the tail starting to flick a little bit. So, oh, there we go. You can see she is grooming. I think it's going to be worthwhile spending some more time around this female cheetah. We're going to stick around and send you over to Steve, see what he has for you.
Welcome back to Djuma, everybody, where we've looking for some of the very non-mobile small things on the ground today that are on the road. And well, of course, we found a pile of elephant dung from, I suppose, last night. It's hard to tell. It's very wet, but everything's wet this morning. But you can see how it's full of marulas. That's come out of the elephant's bottom. So it goes to show you how poor the digestive system is of an elephant. And then many people might think, okay, well, what is the point? Well, those marulas have definitely been chewed. They've definitely been ingested. They've definitely been fermented. So now other animals will come along. Baboons will eat the fruit. Certain individuals I've worked with before in the past will also eat those fruits straight out of there. So it's a little bit of a little hard for me to swallow. But then squirrels will also go and feed on the nuts that are inside. The nuts are very high in oil. And I'll actually be able to gnaw open the nuts to feed on the beautiful nutrient-rich protein that is inside. Just going to step off the car for a moment. It is a great time of year for grasses. And when I identify grasses, it's nice if you don't want to get too wet in the wet season to get yourself a very nice pair of gumboots if you want to be walking in the rain or in the grass, because it gets very wet out here. And we've got a wonderful grass right over here called Panicle maximum. It's also known as white buffalo grass or blue guinea grass. There's a few different names for it, but you can see the one over here is actually how it starts to emerge. So the growing point is coming out of the leaf there. Very easy to remember. Grasses are called monocotyledons and trees are called dicotyledons. Now don't worry too much about that, but mono means one. And you can see the grass has got one leaf, whereas trees have got two leaves when they grow. So let me show you over here. This tree, whenever it grows or pops out, it's always coming in two. So dicotyledon, monocotyledon. That's the difference between grasses and trees, everybody, if you've ever been confused. And so here is the same grass, and this type of shape over here is called a panicle. Panicle, when you look in a grass book, there's a few different types of seedlings or types of structures that will pop out. Let me just show you so you get an idea. You can see the very different types of shapes forming here. The one on the right we'd call a raceme. This we'd call sort of a bottle brush. And then this one, I'm not sure what we'd call that, but that's one of the awn grasses. But you can clearly see the difference between them. There's about 91, 92 species of grasses in the Kruger, but only 11 or 12 of them are actually very important for scientific purposes. And this one over here, the Panicle maximum, the reason why we can remember that is because it's also known as buffalo grass. And when you see buffalo, you panic to the maximum, don't you? So now by pulling this grass out like that, you get the tip of the grass there, and that, very sweet and delicious. And as these seeds start to ripen, they're actually quite edible. They go a little bit purple in color. They're not quite ready yet, but I'll eat them anyway. Very, very tasty. They actually haven't even been, yeah, they have been pollinated. Some of them haven't. If you can see, there's a little bit of yellow pollen over there. So the birds love to feed on these. But remember, everybody, before you stick one of these grasses in your mouth, just make sure that a hyena hasn't pasted on it. See a big sort of brown, dark paste on the end here. I'm not going to demonstrate the pasting technique. I've done that before, and I was ridiculed by many of the people I work with. But hyenas will walk along the road, and they'll, with their anal gland, paste on the end of a grass stalk. So make sure you don't get that in your mouth, because there's no going back from that. But what's important about the Panicle maximum, it's not just the inflorescence that we look at. The inflorescence obviously provides lots of seeds. It's very delicious for birds to eat. We can make very nice bangles out of these branches. But it's the leaf matter over here. The leaf matter. Look at all those leaves that are there. Look how tall they are. So this plant here produces an enormous amount of foliage. Okay, so foliage is where it comes important for animals for feeding. So this grass on a nutrient level is very high, and on the production of leaf, it's very, very high. So on an agricultural scale, this grass is given a value of 10 out of 10. Whereas another grass, just down on the side over here, this 9-horn grass, can you see this one, Paul? And see that it's not really, I'm going to just damage this one slightly for a moment because there's lots of them around. Look at the leaf on this one. It's really not very high, is it? So although this one might be tasty, I can tell you it's not. It's got a very low leaf material or biomass, and so it gets a much lower score versus a plant that is very, very abundant. And you look underneath here, all of this underneath here is the Panicle maximum, and it is a semi-shade grass. It tolerates sun and semi-shade, so it's a beautiful grass out here in the savannas. But we're going to carry on, see what else we can find without having to get too wet. While we do so, we send you back over to the east to and beyond Phinda.
Welcome back, everybody, to and beyond Phinda, where this cheetah, when you left us, she was starting to groom. She yawned a little bit, and now she's come down to that same water hole where that rhino and calf were drinking. You can see it's amazing how she's got her head down there drinking. You can see every now and then she does lift her head to look around and see what there is. I can see off in the distance, just left of her, coming down towards the water, are some zebras. So it might get quite interesting to see what happens now, because the zebras definitely haven't noticed her. This cheetah also hasn't noticed a zebra. And zebras are quite big for a cheetah to be able to take down, unless there's a very, very young foal within the herd of zebras. The zebras have just stopped now, and they're just looking around. And where this cheetah is drinking is a little bit of a ridge, so I don't think the zebras will be able to see this cheetah. Oh, I saw the cheetah just turn her head now. And so I think they might get a bit of a fright, just like this cheetah might get a fright when those zebras come a little bit closer. I think they're also coming down for their morning drink. And it's not often that you do see cheetahs drinking, because they are such a small cat. They often get enough moisture and water from the carcasses that they kill. There's a lot of blood and things like that they'll be able to drink for moisture. But if there is water available around, maybe a little puddle or a little water hole just like this where we are, they'll definitely take the opportunity to drink. So you can see the zebras are coming a little bit closer. There's actually quite a lot of zebras. I can see there's maybe 10 or 15 zebras that are coming down. There are 3 vehicles here at the moment watching this female cheetah drink at the water. So I think they're just looking at the vehicles, maybe having a look around and seeing. But like I was saying earlier, she is in a little ridge just on the edge of the water. And I don't think the zebras have seen her. And what those zebras will do if they do see her, we talked about a little bit earlier about the alarm calls that different animals have. And the zebra alarm call is very unique. It'll be amazing if we do get to hear that alarm call, if they do see the cheetah. And because zebras, they are quite big animals, what will often happen is that there might be a little bit of a standoff. The zebras know that the cheetah is not too much of a threat, unless, like I was saying, if there's a young foal within this group, which I do see a younger foal, but for a female cheetah, that's going to put up a very, very good fight. And with a lot of them around, I mean, you can imagine a zebra kick, just like a horse's kick. It's going to do some serious damage to a small female cheetah like this one that's drinking at the waterhole. They almost look like they're all coming in from different directions, just feeding a little bit. Because if this was a lion that we are looking at here, drinking, not feeding, I think there might be a bit of a different situation, because lions are much bigger. Oh, there's a couple of them running down. There is actually quite a young zebra foal, Glenn. I don't know if you can see that young zebra. There's a young zebra foal there, but with a lot of the zebras around, those mothers are very, very protective, especially the mothers and the stallion, the male within the harem. So it's one male to many different females. Oh, it's suckling. Oh, not anymore. There was an older one just to the right of the youngster that we were on that was suckling. You can see some of the zebras are moving off. There's another, here's one zebra that's coming a little bit closer. And all it takes is for one zebra to come down towards the water to drink. And then the rest of them most likely will also come down. And I mean, this zebra is getting very close to the cheetah. Most likely, I would say 10, maybe 15 meters away at the moment. Do you have both of them in shot? I think they might have seen this cheetah. This cheetah seems like she is very thirsty at the moment. I'm not too sure when last she did drink or make a kill. I was saying earlier that she is a little bit skinny, so I can imagine 3-4 days ago was the last time that she made a kill. And I think after this drink, she may move off and potentially go look for any opportunities to hunt around. But it's just amazing to see zebras so close to cheetah like this. We'll see if there might be a little bit of an interaction between these two animals here. There's also a yellow-billed kite flying around this little waterhole here, seeing if the cheetah might make a kill around. Yellow-billed kites are scavengers, so they're often one of the first birds around carcasses, and they often will follow predators such as cheetah. So once the cheetah is done, those yellow-billed kites will then come in and scavenge off the carcass that the cheetah might have left around. All those little bits around the ribs and things. Lois, so cheetahs, they do have all their spot patterns are very, very different. So just like leopards, you can identify cheetahs by their spot patterning. So it is much more difficult to be able to identify a cheetah by the spot patternings. So we don't often use that. What we use with cheetahs often, they might have a scar or maybe a nick in the ear. Even those dark lines that come down the face, all of them are all different, just like our fingerprints. So they're all unique, and so we all use different spot patternings. You can even see, if we get a close-up of her face, those dots coming down the eyes, all those dots are going to be different and unique. So we will be able to identify cheetah by their spot patternings, just like you do leopard. I can see these zebras staring directly at this cheetah, and There we go. I don't know if you were able to hear that. It's almost like they blow out of their nose. Blow air at a rapid rate out of their nose, and that's the alarm call. So they've all now seen this cheetah. Oh, so you can see a big stretch. Oh, there, big stretch. You can see that this cheetah's not worried about the zebras at all. Just giving a nice big stretch, and let's see what's going to happen now. She's actually moving sort of towards the cheetah, towards the zebra, sorry. She decided, let me try go a little bit closer, and then saw maybe that there's a lot of them. Let me rather not do that. Let me go on my way. But how amazing to have from this cheetah lying down flat to now moving around. You can have a look at the zebras. They're actually running around to keep an eye on this cheetah. And what they'd rather do is watch where she goes, just to make sure that she doesn't try and ambush them from the other side. Like we were saying a little bit earlier, I mean, the wind is blowing from where we are towards the cheetah. So what she would try to do in a hunting situation is she would try to loop around these zebras and come back towards us. It's amazing how she just slinks off there. We are losing her a little bit, but it is quite an open area. We'll just stay for now where we are and see what happens. See all the zebras moving, and it's quite interesting. The zebras with the youngsters, they are a little bit further away from where the closest zebras are to this cheetah. Oh, you can see the zebras now running. The cheetah's a little bit closer now. How incredible is this? An amazing sight in here at and beyond Phinda. Just what we were looking for. You can see she's just stopped now. She's having a scan around, looking at while she was drinking, there was nothing else that came around, but I can also see that the zebras are running off up the hillside with the youngsters, but the others are still pretty close. It's almost like this female cheetah is just like ushering them away from her area where she is. And also with those alarm calls that we heard that's blowing out of the nose, you can imagine that they give away the position of this cheetah, and all other animals within this vicinity are going to know that there's a potential threat that's around, and they're going to then be aware of them. So I think what we're going to do is we might try and reposition, but it does seem like this cheetah is getting on the move, potentially looking to hunt. So we'll try and follow her for a little bit longer and see where she goes.
Okay guys, so we are absolutely in one of my favorite parts of the reserve. Just the scenery here is stunning. I mean, not only is the lion viewing also great most of the time, but we are also having a look to see if the southern pride hasn't come over the mountain, to see if we can get them in an area where there is good signal. So with that being the case, we're heading down to a waterhole to see if they've come around like that. It is if they do come through the mountain, it is the only waterhole that they could potentially use. So that's going to be, I want to say, our main focus point to go and check for tracks. Also, I was mentioning to Craig earlier, there's so much dew on the grass at the moment that if they are moving, they have to be moving on the road. These cats, you know, they're typical cats. So with that being the case, they don't like getting wet, just like normal house cats don't like getting wet. So with that being the case, whenever the grass is so tall and so full of dew, they will definitely prefer being on the road when they do travel. I mean, when they're hunting that goes out the window completely. But if they're just walking to a different spot or so, then they absolutely use the road to be able to travel with. So hopefully we'll be able to pick up on some of their tracks and then follow that until we find the lions. But we'll have to see. I'm very hopeful that they've come over the mountain. They've been spending time on the other side of the mountain quite a bit. So yeah, we'll have a look, and if we do find something, we're going to let you know.
Well, we're busy trying to see if we can find something for you guys, and we've managed to find tracks, but they're not good tracks. They're tracks that are before the rain. So those tracks in front are not the tracks we're looking for, though. Those are from a zebra that's walked along here after the rain. But we've got lion tracks that are on our right here that are moving along, but they're quite faint. They unfortunately, like I say, due to the rain that we've had, it's gotten pretty sort of washed away. I would imagine these are the lions that Steve had yesterday briefly, where we didn't have much signal. But if we have a look here, the track is this kind of smudge. So you've got the toes that are in front, and then the pad is kind of coming to the back here. So if I do the little lobes, that would be there, and then you've got toe, 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 and toe that's there going down. So I just want to quickly double check and see where they go. Obviously with rain like this, these cats could have kind of gone anywhere. They might be a long way away. It is also starting to rain, so we're going to have to start heading back to camp in order to get a roof just to protect us from it. So I'm not going to go too far with them, but they are heading also towards our southern boundary, so we'll have to see. Hopefully, they're just lying up in the road. As Steve mentioned earlier, we can't off-road anyway, so it's not like we can kind of do anything if we do find them in the bush. That's why I'm hoping they're going to lie in the road. Also, at this time of the year when the grass is so wet like this after rain, often these cats will just lie on the road itself. Maggie, yes, lions can most definitely still hunt in the rain and will hunt in the rain. They do it because it can often confuse the prey that they are potentially after. It's for the prey animal, there's a loss of scent, there's a loss of sound due to the fact that the raindrops are hitting leaves. It's also they can't see as well, so it's definitely something that lions will use. You do see them hunting in rain fairly regularly. Unfortunately, talking about rain, it's starting to get quite hard. You'll see the dashboard is starting to get very wet, so we're going to have to rush, try and get rain covers on as well. Alright, so while I quickly just try and get some rain covers out and sort this out, I'll send you over to Steve. Welcome back. It's drizzling slightly where we are, but it's not raining heavily. We've got our covers on. And we found a Swanson spurfowl doing exactly what I was talking about before, busy feeding on the grass seeds. Some that have fallen in the road, and some he's plucking straight off of the grasses themselves. Now, very important sort of strategy that the seeds are designed to be eaten. They want to go into the digestive system of an animal or bird and then distributed further away. Sorry about the radio. Here, crested francolin in amongst it. There's a mother and her baby there in amongst the elephant dung. Now they are scratching through the elephant dung to feed on seeds that the elephant hasn't been able to digest properly. Fermentation. Now, lots of people these days are feeding or eating fermented foods to improve their diet, improve their gut enzymes. Fermentation is a very important element in the evolution of the human gut.
And elephants are all about fermentation, and so many animals will actually follow elephants around to feed on their dung. Guinea fowls feed on the seeds, any insects, as well as the actual decomposing, fermenting organic material. As these fellows are doing something similar, they also scratch it open, spreading it out on the ground, removing any beetle larvae, insects, fly larvae, so I suppose they're insects as well. And they're staying on the road just like we are, so as to stay a little bit dry. So you see the pecking. I know it's on a road, it's very hard to really notice what sort of benefit there might be, but in times of food scarcity, these animals also will stand up very tall. They will also scratch the ground. And that scratching creates disturbance, which allows seeds to find purchase in the ground and are very important in the process of succession. If you've never heard the word succession before, that one just said I'm scratching my head. I've never heard it before. Succession, or plant succession, is the movement from an open area, like what the spurfowl is standing on there, an open, exposed area, to a more established grassland area. And a plant succession would essentially then eventually end up in a forest. Grassland succession, on the other hand, goes from open, exposed areas to pioneer grass species, which we find characteristically here in the middle of the road and on the open exposed areas where the seeds are able to sort of survive or germinate in very high sun conditions. Very high sun conditions where there's hardly any shade, there's less moisture, there's probably less nutrients, less organic material. They in turn then improve the conditions for secondary sort of establishment of plants, which then increase the root depth, the organic material on the soil, the shading, the water holding, which then eventually leads to the climax species, which then completely dominate and take over. But remember, in succession, it is always a cycle. It's not a linear progression. It doesn't go from open to completely established again. It always reverts back again. So it's a constant cycle due to the fact that there are herbivores and animals in the mix that are feeding and disturbing the vegetation. Obviously, if we removed all animal life completely, we would see this very linear progression from open exposed areas to well-established vegetation. But that is not a natural system. These systems have evolved with birds, with mammals, and of course, with fire. Here a black crown chagra. There's also the crested barbet, the loud, long-winded churring. So over the coming days, everybody, I will make a concerted effort to show you what I mean by succession, and the nutrient recycling, and the establishment of vegetation. I've done it a few times in the past, but it's very nice to actually see practical examples of it. And obviously rainfall is essential in that as well. The vegetation will not survive without the water, all the processes. Got one of our spurfowl in the tree there, can you see? Sitting in this little quarry bush, hiding away, elevated from the ground. Jerry, yes, they will seek shelter. They'll stand under a bush. It's about as good as they can do. There's only so much that can be done. But the most important thing with birds is the constant repairing of feathers and the constant preening. So they've got a preen gland on the base of their back or their rump, which has got a water insoluble substance on it, and that they'll keep filtering through their feathers because it creates a sort of an anti-water coat, if you were, waterproofing agent, so that their feathers will remain dry. Unfortunately, when you get enormous amounts of rain, all these animals will get wet, and you'll see them shaking and sunning themselves as soon as there's some sunshine to warm themselves up. But it's essential for their insulation and body temperature to be able to keep those feathers dry. If you've ever had a down feather pillow or duvet, you know that when it's dry, it is magnificent. If you tried to sleep with it when it was wet, well, I'll be honest with you, it won't be serving the same insulating warm effect if it was damp. They will seek whatever shelter they can, but shelter, unfortunately, out here is quite limited. So most animals will just sort of go where they go. There are many animals that can go underground, but spurfowls aren't known to do that. I've had many franklins and spurfowls come and sit on the porch where my room is, and sit there underneath the little the roof that we have there. And sometimes you come out of your room and open the curtain and they fly off. They're doing quite well hidden underneath the shelter. Oh, here we go. Competition. Oh, he's a man, isn't he? Look how big he was. Look how macho he made himself feel. He's obviously trying to court that damsel, and she just said very politely, no. So her face isn't as red as his, and on the back of her leg, you'll see there's no spur there, but the male has definitely got that big spur on the back of the foot. Jerome, you want to know if I've ever seen dead animals from exposure? I mean, drought is a reality. Many animals over the last, not the last 2 years, but the 3 years before that, there are quite a few animals that were killed by predators due to their low condition. But I haven't come across animals that have recently... I've had buffalo in the past that have died. I found them dead, completely desiccated, and their whole body is mummified inside without being found by predators or scavengers. What ailment killed that buffalo? It's very hard to say. It could have been disease. But many of these animals are quite well adapted to surviving in the temperatures that we have. The savanna itself provides the shade in the summer months to keep the animals well cooled off when need be. And there's plenty of water around this time of year to keep them cool. But drought conditions lead to starvation, and starvation is probably more of a killer for some of these animals than actually exposure. But out in the sort of the more arid sort of savannas or desert-like areas, those animals are more highly adapted to surviving in those areas, and those that do succumb generally don't pass on any traits, and those who do very well pass on successful traits, and that's how survival of the fittest has sort of played its part. But old age versus exposure, it's sometimes hard to say exactly what it is that might have killed an animal. Definitely disease plays a bigger role. Animals do get stuck in mud sometimes, and that could lead to dehydration. I suppose you could call that exposure as well, but I think that's more dehydration due to the lack of their ability to drink and get out of the heat. Late rains or rains in the winter months, when it's cold, have led to die-offs of animals due to sort of pneumonia-like flu symptoms kicking in. So out-of-season rain, this system has evolved with summer rainfall. That's how it has worked, but we do get every now and again out-of-season rain, and what that does lead to is animals getting sick. But once again, that whittles out the ones that aren't as strong. And so the cycle continues. Okay, well, we're going to carry on, head on down the road, see what else we can find down here on the road, because it seems to be a very road active day today. And now we send you back over to and beyond Panda.
Welcome back, everybody, to And Beyond Punda. So we left the Cheetah. We moved out for another vehicle. Cheetah have been quite scarce here on Punda the last couple of days. So we decided to give the other guys an opportunity. We are sitting not too far from where that Cheetah is. We're just going to wait for another opportunity to be able to go and see what this Cheetah gets up to. She was slowly moving away from that water. Those zebras were still around. I think they might still be keeping an eye out on her. But it's definitely worthwhile going back to see what she does. I think with those zebras alarm calling around that water hole, she's most likely going to move off quite a distance from where she was. Just if she is going to be able to look to hunt, she doesn't want to hunt in this area because all the other animals with that alarm call, they're going to be on high alert with them knowing that there's a potential threat around. So we're just sitting here a little bit away with a beautiful view over what used to be a dam. Hopefully, if we do get some big rains, there'll be a little bit of water around here. I can see two buffalo bulls a little distance away from us. They seem to just be grazing in this cool morning here on And Beyond Punda. Just looks like two buffalo bulls, two males, and they've joined up. They've most likely been kicked out of a herd. They're two old males, and they would have been kicked out by two stronger, more dominant buffaloes within a herd, and they've taken over that herd. And now they're going to spend their time together feeding, and you often find them 2 or 3 together. Most I've ever seen together is probably 8 or 9 around. And they also, I mean, maybe if it does start to get a little bit hot around that water hole where that Cheetah was drinking, they could potentially go for a drink there, maybe even a wallow. With them getting quite old, they often lose quite a lot of hair on their backs, and with the sun in this area where we are, if it does start to peak out, it's quite harsh on their skin. So that's what they do. They'll roll around in the mud, just like sunblock. They'll try and get the protection layer on their skin, as well as trying to cake themselves in mud, get all those ticks in that mud, let that mud harden, and then go to a nice dead tree, maybe a tree stump, and give themselves a nice scratch, try and take off that mud in the softer areas around like their armpits and things like that, and try and get rid of all those pests, the ticks and all other insects that might be around. But it's a beautiful morning here on Punda. It's very cool, much needed. After the week or so that we've had of extreme heat, it's a much needed day. So we're going to actually start heading back towards where those cheetahs are and see what she's up to now.
For the month of January 2021, we are offering a chance to win a unique Wild Earth expedition to the magnificent Tswalu Kalahari. From the ancient Kortai's Koranenberg Mountains to the southern Kalahari's red sand dunes, Tswalu offers what travelers crave most: space and time. The winner will explore this landscape in a vehicle, on foot, or on horseback, with a chance to go behind the scenes with Wild Earth and of course meet the meerkats. The prize includes a 3-night stay for you and a friend at the luxury Motse Lodge, including flights from either Johannesburg or Cape Town. Open to all Wild Earth explorers who have signed up before the end of January 2021. Terms and conditions apply. The new year has arrived, and with it comes all kinds of other new beginnings. From hyena cubs to meerkat pups, the bush is full of new life. If you want to find out more, then sign up to be an explorer and join our New Beginnings Fireside Chat. Tristan and Steve will be looking at what's new here in the wilderness as we enter 2021. Join them on the 17th of January, straight after the Sunset Safari.
My name is Lauren, and I'm currently working in Djuma Private Game Reserve here in South Africa. I love answering your questions during the live safaris. It's my favorite part. It feels like you're on the vehicle with me, and I'm able to teach you exactly what you want to know. If you want to ask a question on Wild Earth, then you need to register on our website. Once registered, you must go to the live safari page and ask your question below the live feed.
Well, we unfortunately followed those lion tracks all the way to where we can't go anymore. They've actually gone quite far now to the east, towards sort of Nkoro side. But I came quickly to these pans because I was trying to see if we have any frogs this morning. Often after big storms, these little pans that you have, particularly where there's this kind of grass that goes into the water, can house all kinds of frogs. And now with the rain starting, that sometimes triggers the frogs to start making a bit of a noise. So you start hearing them kind of calling and kind of making a bit of a noise, and that then allows you to identify a lot more of them. But unfortunately, it's all very, very quiet. It doesn't seem like there's any frogs that are calling. You can actually see the remnants of some foam nest tree frogs. The foam is kind of decaying away in the guarri bush just above the water. There's a few of them that are inside there. They're no longer white. They've taken on a much more kind of brown appearance as the foam starts to kind of break down and dissipate into nothing. Unfortunately, I'm sorry if you're hearing a little bit of scratching on my mic. I'm trying to not move it too much. Hopefully it's okay now. But you can see that it's quite quiet. Like I say, I mean, in these conditions, you generally are not seeing a huge amount of movement of animals when it starts to rain like this. The only thing that really enjoys this is elephants and rhinos to a degree. Hippos will be fairly happy too, but they'll be all in their dams. And as I was saying earlier, the dam walls are all closed, so going near dams is quite tricky. All right, let's carry on because there's not much going on at this little water point. Like I say, I was hoping that there would be some frog action, but it seems as though the froggies are all having a bit of a rest. Maybe they were very vocal last night and they're all tired. After the rain kind of abated a little bit last night, the frogs were fairly loud. And I'm quite keen to do a bit of frogging because there should be some decent frogs out now with all the rain that we've had. All right, while I just reverse and get us back onto the road, I'm going to send you back across to Steve, see what he's up to.
Caught me eating. Hello everybody. We have got the whiteberry bush. Now you must probably think, how on earth did they come up with the name whiteberry bush? The whiteberries. Delicious. We were talking yesterday about how can you tell if a plant is edible or poisonous. You'll see the monkeys and baboons and all sorts of animals feeding on these. But the test is to check for milky latex, as we discussed. Take it and rub it on the soft part of your hand. Give it some time. Rub it on the softer part inside your skin. Give it some time. Taste on the tongue. It's very sweet. Eat it. These ones I know quite well. When they're not ripe, they're green. So you'll notice if you put a green one in your mouth, it's bitter. So you're not going to want to eat that. The bitterness is often a defense mechanism of a plant. If the seeds aren't quite ready for being distributed, they're going to say, hang on, don't eat me yet. And when they turn white, then they are delicious. And inside, can you see all of those seeds there? Can you see it? Well, all those seeds. So those seeds will pass through an animal's digestive system or my digestive system and be deposited somewhere away from the parental plant. That is how fruit has evolved. It's designed to be tasty, it's designed to be distributed, and it doesn't want to be dropped right here. Because right here, the competition for this space is very, very strong. There's grasses, there's trees, so why add any burden to your own life? Objects of plants is to reproduce and to spread their seed, to sow their seeds, but competition around this base is very, very strong. For sunlight, you can see that the buffalo grass is growing through here as well. There's a brown ivory growing in the back there. There's a gardenia over here, another white berry bush. So there's lots of competition for the resources in this immediate area. Once you're a plant, I mean, I can move, you know, kudu, all these animals as franklins, they can move for food, for resources. This tree, once it's established, there's no going anywhere, non-motile, not able to move. So why add any burden by keeping your kids right close next to you? Some of you out there have had children, you'll know. You want them to grow up strong, and then must go. Go somewhere else and do what they need to do. Do you want some, Paul? Some lovely little fruits here. Lovely white berry bush. Oh, there we go. For you. Okay. What a wonderful morning. I had my little morning snack. There are so many things to eat out here, everybody. We'll keep focusing on some edible plants. That's right. Great time of year for food. Great time of year for medicine. Time of abundance. When we do bushwalks in the summer, we move between the edible plants, just between me and you. It's a nice plan. Anyway, it sounds like we're going to be sending you back over to and beyond Phinda with a beautiful cheetah.
Welcome back, everybody. So we've come to this female cheetah again, and it seems like she's now hiding in a thicket around a guari bush and a clump of grass. It is very, very difficult to see her at the moment, and it seems like the wind has picked up. I don't know if you can hear the wind in the microphone, but the wind has picked up quite a lot recently in the last 10 minutes or so. So I think this cheetah got away from the zebras, and now she's trying to take cover from the wind. So I think she has settled down there. I think she might stay there for a little while out in the thicket where she is. I mean, I think we're very lucky to where we spotted her out in the open areas, to have an amazing view of her with the rhino interaction, the zebra interaction, her on the move a little bit. And now she seems like she is just settled down there. And you can imagine, I mean, in that little clump of grass, there might not be too much wind. So that's why I think she's started to settle down in that wind. I think we might leave her in the next couple of minutes and maybe go see what else we can find out in these grasslands. But with the wind picking up how it is, a lot of these animals might start moving into a drainage line or the valley and try and, just like this cheetah, get away from the wind. A lot of the animals don't really enjoy the wind. So we'll take a slow drive around, see what else we can find. But the cheetah was very amazing. I mean, amazing to see her drink, and with the rhino and the zebras. But I've got a feeling she might settle down here for the better part of the day. I think that if we had driven past here, we would definitely not have been able to see her. So we're very happy that we did get the sighting that we had with her. I can actually just see her. She's just moving her head a little bit, tail flick. So I think let's leave this female cheetah. We had an amazing view of her. She's tucked up in the grass there. We're going to continue, see what else we can find. We're going to send you over to Tswalu.
Alrighty guys, so we've picked up on tracks for the Southern Pride coming in this direction. So we're just quickly doing the block, making sure that they're not crossed out of the block yet. And with that being the case, if they haven't crossed out, which we hope they haven't, or if they're headed towards the waterhole, which would be even better, we'll be able to, narrow down on their location and hopefully find them. So that would be great. It seemed like at least 3 females. So I'm hopeful to be able to see where they were going rather easily, because, lions typically choose a route and they just stick to it. It's not often that you find them deviating from that route or so. So we're just making sure quickly that there's nothing coming over this road, and then this road leads to a waterhole, which will then go around towards where we found the tracks again. And if they haven't crossed through, then we'll maybe jump off and start actively tracking these animals and see if we can't find them. It's not that warm yet, so with that being the case, there's a very good possibility that they still might be moving. Even though the sun is out, the breeze was quite cold this morning. Actually very cold this morning. So I do think that they might be active for a little while longer than usual. But let's hope that they came through and are chilling by the waterhole or something like that. Frankie, so they travel, with them being Kalahari lions, they're especially adapted to travel great distances during a night. When they start moving, you can easily find them going over 20 kilometers in an evening. So sometimes they clock up to as much as 40 Ks or 40 kilometers in a single evening, which, that is unheard of in the low veld. You don't really find the lions moving that much. That's just because their territories are smaller, the game is more abundant, so they don't really need to either move as much for remarking their territories or patrolling their territorial boundaries, and also they don't need to move as much to look for food, hunting opportunities. Out here in the Kalahari, the animals are a little bit more scattered, and also the territories of the lions are quite a bit larger than what you'd find in the low veld. So there, because of that, we find the lions traveling quite a bit more. You see it in their hunting behavior also. They'll start charging from quite a longer distance away, and have the endurance to continue in a chase for quite a bit longer than what you'd normally find a Kruger lion would do. But that's just because they need to be adapted for this type of environment. Also, the animals that occur in this area, like the oryx and the red hartebeest and those types of things, they are also specially adapted to be more to have higher endurance when it comes to running and those types of things. So they can keep up a speed or a top speed for quite a bit longer than what you'd find, let's say, a kudu doing, or something similar to that, maybe a buffalo or something like that. So yeah, they can travel great distances during the evening, which is why we always, when we do find tracks for the cats, before we even go into the block, circle that block first and make sure that they haven't crossed out, because it's very easy for them to just be on the other side of the block and through the road and 2 blocks further away, and then you might go off-road unnecessarily, and for that matter, waste time. So yeah, we are going to see if these tracks come through. In the meantime, we're going to send you over to Tristan, but if we find something, we'll let you know, okay?
Well, if you look at the lions here, they can often put in some serious distance in covering ground. So they do walk a lot. The other things that walk a lot are elephants, which we have in front of us. It seems like there's a large herd that's spread quite a big distance, and there's a lot of noise coming from them. So I don't know if they bumped into something or if there's a bull that's harassing them. These are 2 young males that I've found. The rest sound like they're in the Mulawati, and obviously with the rain we can't go there. So just trying to kind of figure out if it's bulls that are causing an issue or if maybe there's something like a predator that is around. Sometimes you'll find things like dogs, particularly in weather like this. They'll be fairly active this morning, which then means that the ellies bump into them every now and then, and you get a bit of a commotion that starts to take place. Unfortunately, our ellies are really just walking away from us at this stage. It's nice of them to at least be on the road. It allows us to be able to spend a bit of time with them, although I don't think that they're going to stick around too long. A lot of the tracks for this herd go southwards into Little Gowrie, and they kind of are walking parallel with the boundary at the moment, so I wouldn't be surprised they head in that direction. But he's going to disappear now, so I'll just quickly catch up with him. It's nice to see so many ellies around. It's always this time of year we get a lot of them just because of the marulas that are fruiting. It's a huge food source for them, and where we are, we're part of a very, very heavily wooded area for marulas. We're in a kind of a marula belt that runs through the Kruger National Park, and so you get a lot of elephants coming down into this area, and it generally is a pretty good time for elephant viewing. That, coupled with the fact that we have normally a lot of water at this time of the year, means the ellies can come in and kind of feed and drink and generally just mess around, which is quite cool. Here's the rest of the herd. They actually were walking parallel with us all the time, which is pretty cool, so it's nice. Hopefully going to catch up with all of them. They'll take it easy next to us. There was lots of wailing and shouting coming from the other direction, so maybe it was just that 2 herds bumped into each other. Now, I'm not going to stop here, even though they are on my right. I'm just going to quickly loop around, because there's actually another road, and we'll be able to get in front of them, which will be quite nice. Oh, there's more in the road here. Wonderful. Ellies everywhere all of a sudden. Wonder if that's to do with the fact that we're getting a bit of sunshine now. Hello, guys. A beautiful female on our right. She's got really nice long tusks, more so than what you normally see from our ellies. Most of our ellies, unfortunately, have quite short tusks. I'm just going to keep quiet because they're busy talking to each other. See if there's going to be a greeting. They've stopped now. There was these 2 here in front who were kind of moving towards each other, and there was this low little grumble that was starting. Let me go around them quickly. Like I say, we'll get them kind of moving straight towards us once we go around and just turn off. There's one that smells like it's in must as well. It's definitely a kind of pungent, musty smell in the air. Hello, impalas. I think you guys are about to get moved along, I'm afraid. I was hoping there'd be a bit more of a gap to actually see them nicely. Let's stop here and see. Hopefully they're going to come our way. So I think this bull here at the back is following some of these females, but that bull is quite young. He shouldn't really be mating. He's still quite little. Listen. Definitely something that is agitating these elephants. See how all the trunks are in the air? Listen, you can hear lots of shouting as well. The whole herd has just started to run. Let's go quickly check out what's going on there. Lion Lover, you're asking if giraffes and elephants are susceptible to light or more susceptible to lightning. Not really. I have never really noticed them being more susceptible than anything else. Funny enough, animals that are in open clearings, they typically are ones that can be susceptible. So things like zebra, wildebeest, those kinds of things. Giraffe, I mean, there has been the odd incident. Now, why are you guys running back this way? What is going on? There's definitely something that is irritating these elephants, and it's not us. They got their noses up facing this direction. They're running parallel with us now. You can hear them going crazy in front here. Of course, it would be a day where we can't actually off-road, so I can't get to where they're making noise now. Interestingly enough, we are where there was... Oh, hello, little Franklin chick. Come on out the way. That's super cute. We can stop here for a little bit, why not? There's a little Franklin chick in amongst that sort of fallen over leaf litter. You'll hear the Ellies next to me as well. There's an elephant coming out in front of us. You hear that? Some very upset Ellies. Let's try see if we can get around. What's going on, guys? There goes more running. There's just elephants just piling out all in this direction. I think they've all heard the chaos too and are coming to see what's going on. There's another big herd in front. What's happening? Maybe it's just a bull that's chasing around a whole bunch of cows. Could be. Oh, tiny little baby. Hey, little one. That's super cute. Two tiny little babies. But that is very small. Cute. Lots of tiny little ones in this group. I wonder if they're just getting out of here because of the commotion that's being kind of had or has been happening around them. Look at those two little ones between the adults. Oh, you two brave little Ellies. Oh, that's cute. Oh, there's just elephants absolutely everywhere. The more I look, the more they're coming out from different directions. So Megan is very interesting, particularly because I'm not 100% sure what's causing the stir. Often when you get herds like this, and you can see they're agitated, you see how the tails are out, heads are being raised, and the rate of movement is very, very fast. Now, when they shout and scream like this and show you signs, there can be a number of reasons for it. It can either be a big male elephant that's got in amongst the herds, which is very commonplace at this time of the year. I was talking about it, I think, yesterday afternoon, and that because the males are attracted to the marooners, they come in and all these herds are around, and they start to pursue females as they come into must. They kind of pick up that females are in heat, and they cause a lot of issues. So it could be that it's that, or like I say, it could be a predator. But what's amazing to me always with this is how the screaming starts and all these elephants just start coming out of nowhere. So you get elephants kind of all moving to where the screaming is to come and just see what's happening and make sure that if there is a problem that they can all kind of help out and fix it. So it always amazes me to watch elephant behavior when you get a commotion within the herd. It's just this massive sort of unity that starts to get displayed. So, like I say, just a pity though that we can't actually head to the source of the screaming, which is here somewhere in this little block. Could also be that there's a newborn baby. That can also be something that causes elephants to go like this. It's not uncommon to hear them screaming for newborns as the herd starts to kind of pick each other up. Here's a bull here in front. Just trying to see if I can see the rest of them or if they've moved again. My money is, though, it's a bull elephant causing panic in amongst the herd. Just trying to listen now to see if I can hear them anymore. There's definitely more than one herd as well. It seems like we've got 3 different groups that are in this area, all kind of milling about in this general vicinity. Wasn't it amazing, though, how they all put their trunks up and then you just started to see them run, and then there was a lot of vocalizing. They definitely picked up something. This Ellie's kind of hiding from us. He's just behind a bush. It's also gone very, very quiet. I don't think it will stay quiet for long, though. I'm sure, like earlier, they'll make a noise again. Let's go back along the fire break. The bush is so thick at the moment as well. It's pretty tricky to actually see anything. You would think with elephants you'd spot them very easily, but once they get in behind these sort of heavily leafed trees, it makes it quite hard to actually see them properly. So the shouting was coming from right here. Yes, Lauren, they can still mate when they're not in must. It's not a requirement for them to be able to mate. But what you'll find is when they are in must is that they, because of that higher testosterone level, there's a drive to try and find females a lot more. Yes, boy, I can see you. You are full of attitude. The way he's bumbling down the road at us. Are you also looking for the source of the commotion? This is a bull that we haven't seen in this group yet. He's got quite nice sized tusks. I love watching Ellies come down a hill because they get this kind of swagger and this head roll as they go down. You see now with that foot? So that's often a sign of a bit of indecision, and his trunk is low to the ground, so he's sniffing, you see, looking for where are all of these other Ellies. Hey, I'm here. You saw me from a long way away. Are you the troublemaker because you're in must? Like, he's dribbling quite heavily, and he smells quite bad. It's all right. He's being good. He's behaving himself, which is a good thing. It's a serious-sized elephant, though. Hello, beautiful boy. Is it you causing the trouble, or is it somebody else and you coming to sort them out? I'm almost certain now with the amount of males that we've seen in the last little bit. I mean, there's at least 9 different male elephants that we've seen around these herds, that it's them that's causing this issue. Maybe there's a female in estrus and they're trying to mate with her. It'll often mean that those bulls in their kind of process of trying to mate, they actually sometimes will even knock over the little calves, and then it causes mass panic pretty quickly. All right, I'm going to just see if I can follow this guy and see where he goes. Maybe he'll lead us to the rest. In the meantime, let's send you back across to Steve.
Thanks, Tristan. Yes, well, the bull elephants are definitely causing lots of drama this time of year. But, we've come across a herd of Impala that, although we've managed to get very close to them, they're very jumpy. It's got nothing to do with us, of course. Well, there were tracks of a female leopard in the area from while it was still raining. You can tell that by the fact that the leopard track isn't as smooth as or as sharp as it should be. So essentially they walked in the mud and then the rain continued to fall. When you look at all these Impala now, look underfoot, and you'll see how churned up the ground is on the ground. You'll see that is fresh tracks of where the dirt has been turned over and hasn't been rained on. So we spoke about the importance of the franklins, the spur fowl, of scratching up the earth spoke about succession with regards to how grasses move into an area. This is essentially a road that's compacted, but impalas like to hang out in open areas just like this one. It is their sort of evolutionary adaptation. When they're feeling a bit skittish, they go into the open, protected because they can see around them. And what their hooves do, or antelope in general, their hooves churn up the ground, churn up the soil, and make it more accessible for grasses to sort of succeed in an area. That's why I said the system without herbivores, without animals, is not the same system. You have to physically go in and then manipulate it. The Karoo, which is one of the largest sort of open areas in the country, is an area between sort of Cape Town and Johannesburg. And just to say that kind of broadly, it is a very large open expanse that you drive through for hours. If you ever do drive down from Bloemfontein through to Cape Town, it's a very open area. And it's an area that used to house millions and millions of migratory springbok. It's a very nutrient-rich area. It is basically an area that was regarded as an inland sea very, very, very long time ago. So there's a lot of deposits and sediments on the ground, and we had millions of springbok migrating through those areas. Obviously, in times gone by, those areas have been fenced in and farms have been created, and what we're seeing is huge loss of the biodiversity due to the fact that there's intensive farming. So when we see the impala here doing what they're doing, ideally they should be moving away and then allowing the area to recover. So that's what we see in parts of the Kruger and in places like the Karoo, that animals are not able to move as much as they would have before. So that very high disturbance, the depositing of dung and urine, the breaking up of the crust allows for the plants to regenerate. But then there's a period, a very important period of rest. So in the Karoo, where people have tried to rehabilitate areas by removing the animals entirely, has led to a decline, because that hard crust on the soil surface is hydrophobic, which means the water can't go in, and it's also very hard, almost cement-like, which means that the plant's seeds that land on the surface are exposed to the sun. Even if they do sort of germinate, they aren't able to break through the crust. So this churning up of the soil that antelopes, buffalo, zebra, all of these big fellows do is vital for the succession of plants. So it's something I really enjoy to do out here, to link everything into their place. Notice we've been able to sort of connect many of the dots this morning, from the rainfall to the birds, the grasses, to the hooves of the animals. They're all important in the ecological scheme of things. And now you can hear an oxpecker has just landed on the back there. Just a little bit in on the right, and boy, that one right there. It's a red-billed oxpecker. There we go. Straight in on the back of that. Left a bit. There we go. So the red-billed oxpecker will use the fur of the impala for building its nest. And those are cavity nests inside of trees that are created by woodpeckers. The woodpecker has gotten access to the tree due to wood-boring insects and beetle larvae that are inside, that have been given access by porcupine digging in the bark, or elephant damage, or even lightning killing a tree. And that's led to the breeding success of these birds, who play the vital role of removing ticks that spread disease. And we spoke earlier about exposure and about disease being a very high sort of mortality cause effect with regards to animal population. And ticks are carriers of many wildlife diseases. Many of these animals do develop immunity to some of them. Those who don't succumb, they don't pass on the trait, but ticks also help to decrease the condition of an animal, which makes them more susceptible to getting sick. And so having a bird that cleans your body of parasites is of vital importance. Primates will clean themselves of ticks. They will help each other. It's a part of a social sort of contract between them with regards to sort of their social standing. I scratch your back, you scratch mine. And humanity has evolved in a very similar light, that we've helped each other. And without the assistance of other humans, I don't think the human species would have gotten as far as they've gotten to. So that's a very relevant point to where we stand in today's times. We need to stand up and help each other. We can't do it on our own, and we need to assist each other. And that goes all the way back to nature. Jeremy wishes he had an oxpecker. Jeremy, you'd have to feed them ticks, or you'd have to tap into your own blood and feed them blood. So they are a blood-eating organism. They feed on ticks, but to access the blood. So wonderful. I love how all of these things can be connected back to ecology, to nature, and then once again to evolution of everything, really. Nothing is disconnected out here, folks. The grass the impala are feeding on goes back to the grass we started talking about earlier. The soil that the impala are importantly churning up is important for what type of vegetation can grow there. And the ability of the impala to destroy or remove vegetation leads to fire ecology being either quite strong or quite weak.
Well, unfortunately, we've lost visual of our males. They're all headed in here. There was another 4 males that joined that big musk bull, all heading in this direction. So I've just come round to the next road to see if I can't pick them up somewhere here. There's all kinds of chaos going on there. Lots of elephants making lots of noise. You could say that they were all caterwaul and making screaming sounds all over the place. But I'm almost, like I say, 99% sure it's the bulls that are causing the problem in this particular situation. I don't think that it's the cows got any sort of predator around or anything like that. I think it's just males harassing females, causing a big stir. I'm gonna stop here just so we can listen again. Maybe we can pick up some sort of sound of them once again. They should be somewhere to our left here. So I can faintly make out some noises for elephants in here. I just can't see them yet. So I'm going to just be patient and sit right where we are now, and hopefully they will make an appearance.
Welcome back to and Beyond Punda, where we've just left that waterhole where that cheetah was drinking, and we've come across this beautiful big herd of buffalo. And they seem like they are slowly making their way towards where that water was. Like I was saying a little bit earlier, there's not much water around in this area, so these buffaloes they look like they are slowly making their way there for their morning drink. Oh, there's a couple of buffaloes that are chasing one another. And it's also quite interesting, as they were walking towards us, I was looking at the front, and it looked like all male buffaloes, all bull buffaloes in the front. And it's almost like the herd is following them. Excuse me. And then it seems like all the younger buffaloes are almost in and amongst the middle of the herd. And you can imagine, this is a strategic thing, because the ones in the front, they're going to be keeping a lookout for anything that could potentially be a danger to them, such as maybe lions within this area. I don't know if Glenn can maybe try. There's quite a young buffalo that's just moving into an open area here. And that's a nice tasty meal for a predator, such as a lion. But, I mean, we're also not far from where we saw those 2 buffalo bulls a little bit earlier on. And that's also maybe something that the lions would often go for. You can imagine lions taking down a big buffalo, often weighing around 800 kilograms to a ton. It's going to feed some lions for quite a while, which is a good meal for them. I can see lots of red-billed oxpeckers also flying around this herd of buffalo. There's also a beautiful bird flying around. It's quite difficult to get on camera, but I can just see it flying around, called a European roller. And these birds will often also follow the herds of buffalo, because you can imagine, I mean, as these European rollers are moving around and as the buffaloes are moving, these European rollers will actually feed off all the insects that these buffaloes are disturbing. There's actually a beautiful shot of one. While these buffaloes are moving past us, Glenn's going to just get to that European roller. If you can have a look there, it's a beautiful turquoise color to it. And those European rollers will be feeding off the insects and even dung beetles. I've watched one before, and as soon as the buffalo drop their dung, it's amazing how quickly the dung beetles will find that nice fresh dung to be able to roll their dung balls. And the European rollers will often swoop down and catch them straight off the dung, which is quite incredible to see. You can see that European roller's turning his head, looking towards the buffaloes, maybe looking for any insects that are flying around. And you often even see a bird called a western cattle egret. I'm not too sure if everyone's familiar with it, but it's an egret, and it's quite a big egret, very white in color. And they also often, sometimes even catch rides on the buffalo. You often see them sitting on the buffalo's back. And when they disturb those insects, those egrets will be feeding off the grasshoppers and things like that. We're going to spend a little bit of time with these buffaloes. So yeah, I mean, we're going to follow these buffaloes. They are moving quite quickly, which is a sign that they are heading towards the water. I mean, even since we've been here, they've most likely moved, I would say, probably 100 meters, maybe 200 meters. They were all slowly feeding, but it almost seems like they're now getting into a bit of a single file almost as they start to head towards the water for their morning drink. And it might be quite interesting to see some of these older buffaloes, maybe if they have a bit of a wallow, maybe in the water, try and get that protective layer over their skin. There's a beautiful big bull that's just turned his head towards us, just making sure what we are. Maverick, thank you for your question. And buffalo herd numbers can vary. I mean, in different parts or in different game reserves, they can vary. Here on Punda, I would say the biggest buffalo herd that I've seen is probably around 150, 200 buffalo, which is quite a big herd. But up in the areas in South Africa of Kruger National Park, so a little bit northwest from where we are, the buffalo herd sometimes can get up to 600-700 buffaloes altogether. And you can imagine like the noise that they make as they're moving through the grass and the noise that they'd make when they're chasing one another. It's quite amazing to see so many buffaloes all together, often coming down towards the river for a morning drink. I think we're going to stay with these buffaloes. We might just try and turn around a little bit, see if we can get a better view of these buffalo. We're going to stick with these buffaloes, head towards the water. We're going to send you over to Tristan, who's got some elephants.
managed to catch up with one Ellie. He seems a bit unsure of what's going on in his own right. You can see he's got trunk up all the time, sniffing. What you smelling, boy? The wind is blowing from us to him, so maybe he's just picking up the scent of us. Or it could be the fact that there's an elephant right behind me that he's smelling. You can also see he's got dead man's trunk, as I like to call it. When it's wet like this, their trunk goes all white from the moisture in the grass. It's like when you sit in a bath for too long and your fingers go all wet. It's exactly the same thing with his trunk. Hello, boy. Where are you off to? I think he's latched on to another herd that he wants to go check out. There's noise still coming from deep in this block, unfortunately. There is zero chance of us getting anywhere near where all the noise is coming from. But every now and then we are getting the odd visual of the boys. There's some females here that are being now chased further south by these boys. Adrian, no, not really. I mean, a hooter, I suppose, could work. A lot of these game drive vehicles, the hooters have actually been disabled because they're connected to alarm systems and you don't really want hooters going off in the bush. Tapping on the side of the car works better, or just raising your voice slightly is far more natural. Sometimes loud sounds can amp the elephants up even more and make it even more confrontational. And so, you know, you don't want to do that. You want to try and keep the Ellies, want them to understand, firstly, that you're not trying to do anything to them, and secondly, that you're not a huge threat. And so if you just kind of, I always find, just slightly raise your voice a little bit, like with that bull earlier coming down the road, they generally are far more inclined to react better to that than making a huge kind of abrupt sound that is very foreign to them. You know, hooter is loud and it's a very brash sound that they pick up, you know, and it disturbs them, and so that might trigger more aggression than prior. So, I mean, it can be used. I just don't really think it's necessary. I find just raising your voice slightly or just tapping on the side of the car, a little low tap, that often is all that's needed to kind of persuade them not to do what they need to do. There's lots of schools of thoughts on Ellies and when they're aggressive and what the correct behavior is. I find the calmer you are and the more you just try and kind of get back and don't try and create too much of a stir, the better it ends up. The more aggressive you are to them, often the more aggressive they are back to you, if that makes sense. Some people are all about kind of, you know, being quite forceful with them. I'm not sure I buy into it. I've always found that getting out of any sort of grumpy elephant has been better by just being a lot calmer about it and just slowly increasing the distance between you and them. Obviously there's every now and then where you do need to just raise your voice slightly or just tap, but it's not an aggressive way. It's not, you know, screaming and shouting and waving and clapping and all these kinds of things, because that generally, like I say, excites the elephant even more, and either you're going to get the elephant bolting, which is I suppose what you're looking for, or it's going to be aggressive back. So try and kind of play it down a little bit and keep them as calm as possible through that process, and try and almost make them understand that you're not trying to be aggressive to them and not trying to initiate any sort of aggressive behavior. I think also every elephant is different as well. It's like humans. Some react better to some things than others. All right, we're going to leave that area, and some Ellies have gone south, others are still deep in, so I'm going to try and carry on and see what else there is. There was a report of potentially Inzutini on Simabili, so I might just quickly shoot up that way and see if she's still around. In the meantime, though, I'll send you back across to those buffalo.
Welcome back, everybody. So just like we said, it looks like these buffaloes have started to make their way towards the water. It seems like this morning we've had a lot of luck around the water holes, which has been quite amazing. And you can see them just coming there over the ridge line towards the water. And it'll be quite amazing to just sit with them as they wallow. It's not too hot. The sun did start to break through the clouds, and the heat has gone up quite drastically since this morning when it was very, very chilly. But it's now, I mean, the wind is still pretty steady, so it is still pretty cool. And there these buffaloes come. They're almost all following one another, and it'll be amazing to see them as they come down. And you can imagine, I mean, it's not too much water in this waterhole. It might be quite dirty, so some of the buffaloes, as they come down, they might step into the water a meter or two to try and get the freshest water. There you can see one of those western cattle egrets that I was chatting about a little bit earlier on, as it lands by the water as these buffaloes come down. You can see they're even moving a little bit quicker as they get quite close to the water. It must be their first drink of the morning. And buffaloes are quite water dependent, so I mean they have to drink twice a day. Let's just watch as all of them come down to the water. There you can see as they go basically into the water, trying to get the freshest lots. But you can imagine as they move through, they're disturbing a lot of the mud, so there's a lot of turned up water and mud. Let's just listen out. I can just hear the water swishing around as they move through the water. There's even a young calf that's not drinking water, but it's actually suckling from the mother. You can hear that water swishing around as they move through. There the calf goes and now drinking from the water. I can imagine that maybe the mom's milk tastes a little bit better than this dirty water that they're drinking. But what a beautiful sight to have these buffaloes come down to drink right in front of us. And some of these buffaloes are just looking up. There's another vehicle that's joining us around these buffaloes. Dinako, I 100% agree with you. The sounds of the bush are one of the most amazing things to hear. You don't even have to be around the animals, like you say. Just to listen out to everything happening around is quite amazing. And often if you ever experience going to a game reserve, you should definitely do it one evening where you just drive into the middle of nowhere, turn off your vehicle, and just listen to the sounds around you. I mean, you might sometimes hear hyenas calling, that whooping noise. You might hear even male lions vocalizing with their roar. That's probably for me, my favorite sound of them all. And just, I mean, even the birds around calling, all different calls. The buffaloes all chasing one another and making their noise. There's an amazing array of noises around in the bush. And I think we take for granted when we're driving in the vehicle and you don't actually hear those noises. So it's always nice to take a minute and listen to what's happening around you as you are in the bush. There's a couple of red-billed oxpeckers that have landed on this herd of buffalo now. It's amazing that some of them have even gotten straight into the water. They're standing in the middle of the water. And often what happens is if one of them do start to lie down to maybe cool off a little bit, you might see that another 2 or 3 of them might follow and do the same. But for now, I mean, with it not being too hot, I don't think they're going to be wallowing too much. Unless they are potentially getting disturbed by the likes of flies and ticks and things, that's when they'll most likely then roll around in the mud. I can see that some of these buffaloes, they do actually have some mud on them, maybe from yesterday or the day before when it was extremely hot, trying to protect themselves from the elements around. So all of these buffaloes are moving from that bull. Lazarus, thank you for your question. So, red-billed oxpeckers, they have very defined feet to be able to hold onto the buffaloes and any other animal like giraffe and things like that. And they actually almost claw themselves like onto the buffalo or the rhino or the giraffe. And I mean, their claws have adapted to be able to do this because they are feeding off ticks and things like that on the buffaloes. So I think over many years they've adapted those claws to be able to grip onto the buffalo. And I mean, I don't think those claws will hurt the buffalo at all. Often the buffaloes don't mind the red-billed oxpeckers sitting on them because they are cleaning them, keeping them well maintained and all of that. I hope that answers your question. That's quite an amazing view of this young buffalo suckling on its mom. Oh, mom wants to move away, but that calf doesn't want to let go. Walking and suckling. One of them is actually going to the bathroom in the water that they're drinking. It almost looks like the ones in the middle, they're just enjoying the water. They're not lying down in it, but even you can imagine, I mean, moving, they might have moved a far distance because it looks like it could be the same herd we saw yesterday at that other waterhole, and it's probably a good 3-4 kilometers away from where we are at the moment. So they might have rested close to that water, and then in the early morning, as that sun started to rise, these buffaloes most likely would have started to move and headed straight towards this water. Because when we first did find them, what they were doing was they were feeding slowly, and once they got, I would say, probably close on a kilometer from the water, that's when they first started to almost go into that single file, stop feeding, looking around for any potential predators that might be around, like lions, as I was talking about a little bit earlier. Still on the mom and calf suckling, trying to suckle, yeah. That mom's almost having none of it. She wants to get going. But yeah, the reason that they do come into almost that single file is that the ones in the front will stop feeding and they'll keep a lookout for any lions around the area. Because you can imagine, I mean, we're on that young buffalo at the moment, and that young buffalo is quite vulnerable to lions in this area. And so they want to protect them, and like they were at the beginning with all those males in the front, the females and the youngsters in the middle, and then a couple of big males right at the back, just to see that nothing's following them around. There's a beautiful big bull that's drinking at the moment in the water. You can see that nice big boss, that crown almost on his head, a beautiful set of horns. And just look how thick that neck is. It's just an amazing animal, these buffaloes. And it's amazing to think that lions could take down these buffalo. I mean, 800 kilos to a ton of mass versus a lion that's probably a male lion in its prime, probably weighs 200, just over 200 kilograms. And their power to weight ratio is just outstanding. It's just incredible. I think that's one thing that I would love to see working in the bush. I mean, I've been in the bush 5 or 6 years now, and I've yet to see a lion pride take down a buffalo. I've seen an attempted hunt, and it was unsuccessful, but there was an interaction for about an hour or so up in the northeastern parts of Phinda Private Game Reserve on the area we call the Marsh, which is a beautiful grassland. And that was a crazy interaction. The buffaloes were chasing the lions chasing buffaloes. It was just an amazing sight to witness with my guests. We're going to sit around here a little bit with these buffaloes, see what they do. We're going to send you over to Steve.
Hello, welcome back. We have found a cuckoo in the tree. I wonder if any of you can identify the cuckoo for me. Orange. Looks like an orangey beak and orangey eye, although I think it's more likely yellow. Sorry, we're going to get photobombed behind the cuckoo. A car is going to drive past. We do apologize for that. You didn't really get to see him. Notice that the beak looks a little bit orange, but I actually am pretty certain it's yellow. Might just be a variation of the light. And let me know if you know what cuckoo this is. Cuckoos that come here to feed on caterpillars. You notice how the beak is dark on the end and there's more yellow. On the beak. Another cuckoo that it can be confused with, which has got more black on the beak, and the yellow part is far less. You see that? Just the tip is dark, and it's amazing. These guys never sit around and pose. Come on, don't be shy. In the silver cluster leaf. Play the call for you. Maybe he'll respond, or she. Ooh. Ooh. He heard that. Think through any answers you might have. Hashtag Wild Earth. Definitely interested in the call. And on the tail, you notice that there's broad white tail webs. You can see that on the base of the tail there. Broader white spots, which are differentiated from the other cuckoo that you might see that occurs in this area, but actually comes all the way from Europe. Very common into African migrant. These birds come here to breed, but they are brood parasites, everybody. Brood parasites means a bird that lays their eggs in the nest of another, and these fellows parasitize on the fork-tailed drongo. Bernie, no, it's not a Deirdrix. Deirdrix actually got a lot of green in it, a lot of green in the color. The Deirdrix and the Class's cuckoo are two cuckoos that you could possibly get confused with, but there's no green. This is a typical grey and white cuckoo, but the beak is a telltale sign. You can see how the tip of the beak, almost like it's dipped it in some ink. And I think it's just the light that's making it look a little bit orange. It's actually yellow, same color as the eye. And the common cuckoo, or the European cuckoo that comes all the way from Europe, has got a much darker beak. So majority of the beak has been dipped in ink. And they don't breed here, they're actually silent. Elizabeth has got it on the nose. The African cuckoo, Cuculus gularis, which is a very common species this time of year. And you heard, it sounds very similar to the hoopoe if you have a listen. Just have a listen to this. You can hear where the cuckoo sound comes from versus the common or European cuckoo, which let's quickly go over to Tristan.
Well,
we've managed to find Nzutini. She's just been chased by 2 hyenas. She unfortunately had a kill that's been stolen. So I'm just going to try and catch up with her quickly. There she is there. She's just in front of us. The 2 hyenas are behind us, and they've finished the kill, but they she was on a nice mound, and then they rushed in, and she's just decided she's not going to stay near the mound. Hopefully she goes up this dead tree. That would be pretty cool if she does. She's such a pretty little leopard and has been really good value on Tsumamili of late. She gets seen pretty regularly these days. In fact, I think she was seen yesterday and the day before on this very, very spot. She's had 3 kills this week, and apparently all 3 have been stolen, according to others that I've spoken to. It's amazing to think that she actually is surviving in an area like this. You know, it's a very open plain, and if most people that came along here would think that this would be a place more suited for cheetah than for leopard, but when you look at the kind of way that this is, it's got very thick, dense sort of edges to this open clearing. And so for a leopard, it's actually not the worst place to operate. She can kind of use those thickets to stalk along the edges and then find all the prey items that she needs. And because it's open here, it attracts a huge amount of prey. If you look just to the left of her, there's actually a whole bunch of impalas and zebras that are in front. So she's able to kind of hunt a lot of animals in this area just based off the fact that it's more clear and more open, and actually is not the worst place for a leopard to survive. It's funny though that she's ended up here, because this is an area where Tiani, Shadulu, Kara all have been, and she's had interactions with a few of them now, and yet she seems to be the one that kind of has remained. I'm quite glad that she is though. It's a nice little area to have a leopard, that's for sure. All right, I'm going to catch up with her quickly because she's quite far from where I am right now. So we're just going to slowly kind of head down to where she is. Don't think the hyenas will chase her though. I think they're more interested in kind of looking for meat and scraps. They might sort of see her and just kind of come towards her, but I don't think they'll give her too much of a hard time. Well, I hope not anyway. Certainly wouldn't be necessary. I mean, it's just kind of adding salt into a wound by chasing her after stealing her meal. I'm going to try and get down the slope a little bit, so we're a little bit lower. This should be a bit better. Hello, beautiful girl. She is pretty. It's, like I said, it's so nice we're getting to spend more time with her. I believe Lauren had her fairly recently. I've had her a couple of times as well, and it's always in these kind of clearings that we seem to get her. She, funny enough, is taken to hunting Egyptian geese as well. I've seen some amazing videos of her, particularly at Tsumamili Dam before it was so full. She used to climb up the trees and then into the nests of the Egyptian geese, and then she grabs all the little chicks that are up there. It's a pretty unique technique. I haven't seen, any of our cats close by do it. So, Kalamba has never done it. I didn't see Hosan or Shongile try it. So she figured out pretty quickly that there was an easy way to find fairly good food that didn't require too much energy. Wonder where she's going to end up lying up. I'm surprised also that nobody has shouted at her. She's not exactly kind of hiding away, and she's surrounded by impalas. There's two herds that are around. They should have seen her, but maybe they've seen her all morning, and with the chaos of the hyenas, they have not really, don't really care too much now. They know that she's around, and if she gets a little bit closer, then they'll kind of shout at her again. You can just see the 2 hyenas up on the right of her at the moment, slowly coming down the hill. James, you say some special last-minute spots indeed. I mean, it's always nice when we see a leopard that we don't get to spend a lot of time with. Although I think going forward we're going to see Nzutini a lot. If we, come on to Tsumamili, generally she's somewhere around this area. And so, hopefully we'll get a lot more of her. But always good to get a different kind of lineage and just get to spend time with the leopards that we don't see as regularly as Tanditla lumber and the likes. You can see how she's trying to keep a low profile so nobody shouts at her. What are you doing? Oh, there we go. The impalas have started shouting at her already. Amazing though. One snort from the impalas and the hyenas look straight in that direction. You're going to lie there. Okay, let me just move a little bit so that we can get a better view of her. Shame, girl. I'm sorry that your meal was stolen. It happens, though. I mean, as much as hyenas steal food gets stolen from them and they get bullied as well. It's just the natural way of things. And we know that leopards steal food as well from not only each other, but, well, from cheetah and sometimes even from hyenas themselves. So it's part of the cycle. It's not something that, we should really kind of worry about too much or feel bad about. It's just that you feel bad when an animal's exerted energy and not been able to keep their kill. And she doesn't look like she's eaten much either, which is not ideal. All right, I'll just stick with her. We'll see what the hyenas get up to. Hopefully they'll leave her alone now that the food is done.
My name is Taylor McCurdy and I work for Eco Training. I love hearing from all of the viewers. However, I particularly enjoy those of you who have been watching for a few years. Your questions are just so advanced and they really get me thinking. If you'd like to ask a question on Wild Earth, you need to register on our website. Once you've done that, head to the Live Safari page and submit your questions below the live feed.
Do you dream of traveling to a far-flung wilderness location where life continues as normal? A place where you can escape to nature and breathe. If you become a Wild Earth explorer, then this could soon become a reality. Subscribe today and stand a chance to win regular travel prizes. Wild Earth Explorers, it's in your nature. The new year has arrived, and with it comes all kinds of other new beginnings. From hyena cubs to meerkat pups, the bush is full of new life. If you want to find out more, then sign up to be an explorer and join our New Beginnings Fireside Chat. Tristan and Steve will be looking at what's new here in the wilderness as we enter 2021. Join them on the 17th of January, straight after the Sunset Safari. Have you been watching Wild Earth and dreamt of being right there on safari with one of the guides? Well, now you can. Wild Earth is offering you a chance to buy a ticket to dream. You or a friend can hop on board a live Wild Earth show and join our guide on safari. The ticket is redeemable at any of our locations, anytime in the future. Only a limited number of tickets are available, so don't wait. Get your ticket now and start dreaming. Terms and conditions apply.
As you can see, she's just going about a little cleaning. It's cute with the tail kind of curled over her head. Silly girl. But she's just grooming herself. It's a very typical thing to happen for a leopard when she's just had a meal. Often you'll find that they kind of groom and get themselves all sorted out. Make sure all of the fur is in the right spot, get all the blood off of them and anything that's dislodged during the process of killing and dragging and kind of running away from hyenas. And so she's now going to, I think, get into a little settled position. And because of the weather today, she can curl up right where she is now and she doesn't actually have to worry too much. It's not like the sun is out and it's hot. She can stay where she is. And the only way that I think she'll move is if the rain starts. If it really starts to rain heavily, then you'll find that she's going to find a tree and get in underneath that and try and figure out a way to stay nice and dry. Pretty though, isn't she? Never gets old seeing leopards, that's for sure. I absolutely, obviously, what we know, I love spending time with them, but sometimes you forget about the fact that they're as beautiful as they are. And it's kind of mesmerizing when you stop and just take a second to appreciate the sort of pattern on their coat and what they actually look like. I'm guilty of doing it quite regularly, of not actually appreciating them as much as I probably should in terms of their beauty. Anyway, it is that time of the day where we need to say goodbye to all of you. Hopefully you've had a good morning with us. It seems as though there's been quite a lot, a little bit of small things that Steve has done, obviously the Ellies and buffalo and various other critters, and a nice last minute leopard. So there's a little bit of something for everyone. But from all of us, hope that you've enjoyed it. We'll see you this afternoon on our sunset safari.